We are going to start with a new tutorial on Ruby. So basically, Ruby is a programming language. So like Ruby has been used a lot in the programming world, and it is one of the most important languages. So we are going to start with like some basics of Ruby, and then we are going to move on like a framework on Ruby, that is Rails. So basically, that is popularly known as Ruby on Rails. So initially, we'll start with the installation part, and then we are going to proceed and enhance ourselves to the Ruby on Rails framework. So basically, to be honest, like Ruby is a programming language, and Ruby on Rails is a framework based on Ruby language, which is used on web development. Like basically, it is used as a backend framework. So you can create your own backend framework, and then you can extend it to like frontend as well using ERBs. So today, first we're going to start with the basics of Ruby, and then we are going to continue with it. So to install Ruby on your machine, you can move to this website. This website is known as Ruby Installer for Windows. So basically, you can download, click on the download button here, and then you will have all the versions. So make sure you install one with the dev kit, so it will help you. So you can install Ruby with the dev kit, and you can click on like this is like you can click on any, and depending on your requirement, like the 32-bit and 64-bit, you can install it. So like I had downloaded this one which is at the top, so you can also download. And when you download, you will get an installer which will like take some time to install. And then like it's a very like that's a very easy process to install. It will keep on installing, and when you will install this installer, then you can move ahead with this doc. So this is another website you can refer this. So this is like a rubydoc.org, so you can also refer to this website. Okay, then you can like these are the two documentations you can refer, and this is how we like yeah. So let's move on to the tutorial. So after like moving to the installation and documentation, you can start running some Ruby programs on your machine. So we will initially start with them. So I'll show you how you can create one and run one. So let's move to the programming part. So this is my VS Code editor. So like I have created a folder with the name Ruby. So Ruby, basically what you can do first, you have a command line here. So what you can do, so you can create a new file, and you can type hello.rb. So basically Ruby files are run with this extension, and then you can yeah. So basically now I'm inside this a folder which has a hello.rb file. To make sure you have installed Ruby on your machine, you can type ruby minus v. Okay, so ruby minus v would give me the like the version which I've installed, and it's perfectly fine. Okay, now first we are going to create a hello world Ruby program. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to like first clear this. So now we are going to do put s hello world. Okay, so this would like put as hello world would create the Ruby program. Now to run the Ruby program, what you need to do, ruby hello.rb. So this would like run the program on your machine. So this gives the output hello world. So we will start with some few basics. Like one is like creating the variables. So this is like a is equal to 1. Okay, b is equal to 2, and we are going to do what okay, I'll show you one thing, and we are going to put this in a variable a plus b. C is equal to a plus b, and we are going to do put as c. So first I'll run this and I'll show you how this works. So it works perfectly fine. But if you want to do some like string formatting, so what you can do, you can put like this, and you can do the sum of a. Okay, the sum of a plus b is equal to c. Okay, okay, first I'll run this program and I'll show you what I'll do. I'll run this again, I'll clear this and I'll run this. So here you will see the sum of a plus b is equal to c. This doesn't satisfy our condition, so you need to apply string formatting. For that, what you can do, you can put a hash symbol and put them inside a curly braces. So this would get the value of that particular variable. Okay, Now it will format inside the string. Now you can run this. Now the sum of 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. So this is how we achieve it. So it was a good example. There's another statement in Ruby, I'll show you, which says print hello world. Okay. And I'll clear this again and I'll run this program. Yeah. So it says hello world. Okay, different between what is the difference between the print and put s statement? Okay. I'll do another statement. First, okay, first I'll do put s first line, put s, I'll do second line. Okay. Now I'll make sure that I clear this screen. Yeah, now I'll do first line, second line. So this is the output, perfectly fine. Okay. Now I'll do another one. Sorry. Now I'll do print first line, and I'll do another one, print second line. So the print second line would, like, what we'll do, I'll clear this. Now I'll run. So here you can see it doesn't give a line break. Okay. To achieve that, we can put a slash in here. Okay. Now I'll run this. Now we can see we got the same statement as like put s statement. So basically I just wanted to tell you that put s statements always gives a line break. So whatever you type, it would automatically give the slash n or a line break to the next line. But print statement doesn't give that. So this is the only difference between the put s statement and print s statement. Okay. So we can do some like more things in Ruby, like the first like the before we move to some conditions, like first we make a, let's make a simple function. So let's make a function define add. Okay. And it will take two variables, a comma b. Okay. Now since this is Ruby, you don't need, like you might be thinking that this looks like Python. In a Python we have a colon symbol here. Okay. But here it is not needed. Okay. So like you can remove this. So else it will throw, and we need to end the function with this. Okay. So the body of function will lie in between. Okay. So it says either you can do return a plus b, like simple, or you can do put as a plus b. So let's do this like for the simplicity. Let's what we can do, we can store this in a variable c a plus b, and now what we can do, we can put sc. Okay. Then we can like call the function add with 2 comma 3 2 comma 7, and it should work fine. So here we got the 5 or 9. We could also do that like so this is, we could also return the statement a plus b, and we could get the return value here, like result is equal to add a comma b, result a comma add, and what we can do, we can do put s result here and call the same statement here. So it should work fine also, and this is how the return statement also works in Ruby. So this is good. So we like learned how to create functions like in Ruby, and like we made a good progress so far. We can also create a swap function in Ruby using one line, like I'll show you. A is equal to 5, b is equal to 10. Okay. Now I'll do put s a comma b. Will this work? Okay, we'll check this. So it works perfectly fine. Put s a comma b. Okay. uh I'll use print. Okay, this would give you better clarity. Now here you can see print s, like print a comma b. So okay, I'll give a space. Okay, so this is fine. So right now we have two variables, a comma b, with the value 5 and 10. Now what we are going to do, we are going to repeat this statement, but before repeat we are going to do a comma b is equal to b comma a. Okay. So this is like we are going to clear this and run it again. So okay, yeah, so I need to give a slash n statement here. So here you can see 5 comma 10 is being placed to 10 comma 5. So basically in Ruby this is also a valid statement. X comma y comma z is equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3. Okay, and when I'll do print x, okay, print y, okay, I'll do this. Okay, now I can remove this code since this is not needed. Print x, okay, print y, and print z. So this is a valid statement in Ruby. Now I'll run this. So here you can see this is also valid. So this is good. So we can assign values using comma and separating them. We are going to start with some conditions and operators. So let's start with a tutorial. So basically I'm going to create two variables. A is equal to 100, b is equal to 50, and now we are going to define put as a plus b. Okay, I'm going to repeat these four statements. So this is put as a plus b, this is put as a minus b, this is put as a by b, and this is put as a multiplied by b, and the last one is going to be put as a modulo b. So let's run this file, ruby conditions and operators.rb. So we get all the result. The addition takes it to 150, minus takes it 50, a by b 2, and this is 5000, and this is modulus is 0. So this is fine. Okay, and now let's start with some conditions, some basic condition. So let's take with so let's create a variable and try to give this a value true and false, and let's put as c. Okay, so let's remove this. Yeah, so this is false. Okay, let's change this to or operator, and let's run this file again. Calc here. Now this is true. So you must be clear with all conditions, like how this AND operator works and OR operator works. So this is fine for now. And now what we can do, we can, like, this is perfectly, these are some basic conditions. Now let's create some if conditions. So for if conditions, let's create a grade. We'll give this a value. If grade greater than equal to 90, then put as a plus, else this is else if. So else if, so please make a note of this, is ELSIF, else if grade is less than equal to 89. Okay, no, we'll do this then. Is greater than equal to 80, and okay, and grade less than equal to 89. So this is, it lies in this range. So we do put as b, or we can assign it a, else put as b plus l, and then we need to end this if condition. So I'll just make it like these are three conditions: if, else, else. So we will give values to it and see how this condition works. Let's give a grade equal to 99. So okay, so a small mistake. Okay, yeah, this code looks very intuitive to Python, so you don't need a semicolon, a colon here. Okay, so let's run this, and here we are rewarded a plus. Now let's give it a 85. Let's give it a value 85. Now let's run this. Now it is a, and now let's give it a value 75, and it should move to the else part. Okay, now let's run this, and it is b plus. So this is how we make conditions. Now let's move to the while loop. So for that we can define a variable a 0. So while I less than equal to 10, okay, so simply put as I, and make sure you increment the I, else it is in an infinite loop. Okay, and now let's run this. Okay, yeah, so you need to end this loop here. Okay, so I was going with some speed, so yeah. So this is how a while loop works. Okay. Now you can also work with for loop. So there are two ways to work on a for loop. So before we work on for loop, I would like to show you the case statement. Okay. The case statement is very much similar. Okay. So okay, what I'll do first, I'll move with the like for loop. So because I did the while loop first, so then I'll move to case statement in Ruby. Okay. So basically, case statements in Ruby are similar to switch statements. Okay. So let's move to okay. Before we move, I'll do what I'll print. I'll show you a range operator. Range operators is denoted by double dots, and there is a small difference with one dot, two dot, three dots. Like there is a difference between. I'll show you how. See, when I do put s range of 1 to 100. Okay, okay. So I'll show you. Okay, now I'll show you. So yeah. So I just forgot to like this is 2 underscore array. So it says I'll convert this range 1 to 100 to an array, and here you see I have two dots. Okay, so in these two dots here you can see this is 1 2. I'll show you a small like I'll show you a small one. Yeah, now it's fine. I'll remove this. Now here you can see the value is from 1 to 10 inclusive of 10. The 10 is here. When I put an extra dot here, the 10 will not be included. See, so here you can see the last value has been excluded, so it is because of the like extra dot. So this is how it works. Okay, so like this is what you can use this to work in like for loop. So for I in 1 to 10, okay, and you can do put s I. Okay, so let's clear this. Okay, you need to end this for loop like I uh, forgot to do that. And this is how a for loop works with a for range. Okay, now let's move to case statement in Ruby. So what you can do, the very first example, the one for which we made the grade, we'll do this with the grade. Okay, so we'll take a variable grade, and this time we are going to define case grade. And I'll automatically end this before I forget this. So case grade. Now what I'm going to do, uh, when when uh, so case grade, and when this grade is less than is greater than equal to 90, then I put as a plus. Okay, when this grade is greater than equal to 80 and grade less than equal to 89, put as a. When grade then you can have a default statement, but I'll show you one. When grade is greater than equal to 70 and grade less than equal to 79, then you can do put s b else uh, something like else put s improve, something like this. uh, Now I'll put some grade value 95, and I'll try to run this. And so okay, I made a mistake, then I'm putting a colon here, sorry. So this is okay. When like this didn't hit the like something is missing. Case grade 1 grade. Okay, let me check what's the issue with this. Hey everyone, welcome back. That time I made a mistake. The mistake was like the mistake at this since I opted to use case grade here, so I used to just define the variable. So earlier I was also like instead of this, I was also comparing the value grade greater than equal to 90. This was not needed because I had already used case grade, so this is not needed to repeat the same here. Okay, so uh, let's remove this. Now the perfect like syntax for grade statement is this. Now let's run this. Now for 95 it rewards a plus. Let's do this to 85. For 85 it will reward a, and for 75 it will reward b, and for like let's take another value 55, it should move to improve statement, that is the else. So today we are going to start a new tutorial on some basic data structures in Ruby. So the most basic data structure and like one of the most important also is arrays. So today we are going to continue with array in this tutorial, and let's see how we like initialize some array in Ruby. So very basic method is to do nums is equal to 1, 2, 3, and now you can do and you can also initialize another array names is equal to Joe, John, and Jack. So this is a one is a array of nums, and this is a of strings. So these are like two data types you can initialize. One is of integer type and one of string type. And now what we are going to do, we are going to like see how we can print this array. The one way to print is do put as nums. Now let's run this file. Now here you can see I have printed the array. Another way is to like put as names. So this would like run the array, like sorry, print the array. So this is one way of printing. Another way is what you can do is you can treat this as a variable. I have already told you like how we like treat the variables and print this, and this is also going to work, and this is going to this is going to print in horizontal direction. So here you can see like this. So same you can do with the names also. Okay, and it looks good to go. Yeah, so here you can do also with the same thing. Now one way to also initialize the array is like you can use array dot new, and this is like array class which calls constructor, and this is array dot new, and this is Joe, John, and Jack. So let's run this again, and let's see. It works perfectly fine. And let's run this for nums also, and let's see. Yeah, so here it also works perfectly fine. So this is one way of printing the array in Ruby. So another way what we can opt for is like I told you, this is a new operator. Now what you can do, you can also use the range operator as well. And some I'll show you one thing. You can We can comment this out now, since this is not needed, and I'll put this comment in comment, so it's just for your reference. So you can also, I'll do this put test names, put test nums. So these two things are also not needed. I can comment this. Yeah, so now we can use another array. Let's take a variable temp, and let's give array dot new, and I'll sending 5 times I want this word hello. So when I do put s, so hash temp, so it would give me a hello 5 times inside the array. So this is a trick. Now one thing you need to observe. Now I'll remove uh like the same can also be initialized with an integer variable. So like I'll do this. So now it says 5 times update the 0. If you want to initialize some empty array with some particular value, you can do this. Okay, so I'll comment this out also. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, so this looks perfectly fine. Now what we can do is uh we can also use another a range operator, and for that what we are going to do, array this time we don't use the new operator. We are not using this. Okay, we will not use this, and we give 20 dot dot 30. If you don't want to include 30, put an extra dot. I already covered in this my previous tutorial that this would include the last element, last range, and this would not include the last range. Okay, now put s hash temp, and let's go with this. And now here you can see I've got the array. So make sure you don't put the new operator this time. Now some basic operations you can do with the arrays is like some basic operations you can do. Uh, so like one is, now let's create like some like dummy array. A is equal to array dot new, and I'll say 1 1 2 3. Let me try out some with random element 10 20 30 40 50. Okay, now uh you can I'll show you one thing also. Like, you can also, what I'm trying to emulate here, you can also run this on like IRB command. So that is Rails interactive console. So you can run this IRB, and then you can have an interactive Rails console, and you can run this there also. Okay, so let's move to the next thing. Then you can type exit, and you can come out of this interactive console. So I'll show you also how to work with the interactive Rails console. And now what you can do, you can do first the very basic command. You can do put as a dot length. Okay, so let's run this, and when I run a dot length, so it gives 5. The same thing can be a dot size also. So when I run a dot size, so it gives 5 as well. Okay, another thing we can run is a dot first and a dot last. So a dot first would return me the first element. Now let's run this. A dot first because this gives 10. Now a dot last would give me the last element, so that is 50. So a dot first return me 10, a dot last 50, and the size and length works perfectly fine. Okay, so we can run these commands to like have a better overview. Another thing we can have is push and pop. Okay, so I'll show you push and pop. So hey everyone, like these was like 4 operators we had seen. Like one was the first, last, and size and length. So you can use all of them first. Okay, you can also use last and size and length. Okay, so these are the 4 operators we can use. One thing you could also use, you can use 8.2 underscore string. So this would convert this to a string. Okay, so I'll show you how this runs. So here you can see, so here we have got the string output of this. It already looks like Ruby also does this behind the scenes. Like when we are using put s, so it already does this behind the scenes, so we don't like get intuition like this is happening. Okay, so this is one thing we can also do. So 2 operators like we can do use push. We can push 60. Now we can print this, and we get 60. Okay, now okay, okay, I did one thing. Now we can do this. Sorry, I had like then this but it works perfectly fine, not an issue. But yeah, this is the correct way to do it. Now I can do a dot pop also. So the pop would remove the element. I'll show you. So basically, pop removes the element from the last. Okay, push uses like append, so it works. Has a similar behavior to the stack data structure. So like it now basically it like pushes the element from the back and pops the element from the back, so it behaves like a stack data structure. Okay, now we can move to like one last thing is there are various methods in Ruby like each with index and with index. So the important one is a very important one is each with index, because this works as a for each loop. Each with index, I get 2 things in this. One is the value and another in the index. Okay, so I am going to type this put as a statement that the value at index. Okay, now I'll go to put idx is hash val. Okay, so this is going to print like 5 times, or like and this is like this is the one of the most. So the value at index 0 is 10, value at index 1 is 20, value at index 2 is 30, and value of index 3 is 40, and the value at index 5 is 50. uh we could also like uh we could also move with some another methods. So there are various methods in array, you can like have a view. So we can also like delete underscore add at 0. So this should probably, okay, I forgot to print this, sorry. Put s hash a. Okay, now let's run this. So basically it deletes the at the index 0. Okay, now if you want to delete the particular element, so you need to define 20. So this would delete the one at 20. So see, perfectly fine. Today we are going to start with some continue with some more basic data structures, inbuilt data structures in Ruby. So let's start with, so let's create a string a and type it as hello world. Now simply we can print this string onto the console by using put sa. So you can first you can type ruby ts.rb and this would run the program and it says hello world, perfectly fine. You could also initialize the string using the string inbuilt class string.new hello world. Okay, now instead of a, I am printing b. And now I'll clear this and I'll say put sb and it says hello world. And like it's the same output as the previous one, so hello world are perfectly fine. Now I can type put sa is equal to b. If they both are equal, so it should return true, so it returns true. So it returns perfectly fine, so it returns perfectly fine. True is the correct answer for this. Now you could also type put as a dot length. So let's see the output of this. So it turns out to be 11. Good. Yeah. Now you could also do a dot size. You can, and both of them return 11. So the both of them work with the same thing. So now you can also type a dot. Uh, One thing I'll show you. There is a method. Now just for a second, I'll comment both of them. Okay, I'll comment out and I'll make an array C, and this is an array 1 2 3, and I'll put a C dot include. What does it include? What I want to check, does it include 2? Okay, so it returns true. Okay, so yes, it includes true. The same way you can do it for strings also. So you can do this both same way, you can do it for strings also. So I'll do a dot include this character, so it should return true. The same it returns for this a also. So the include method is used for both strings and arrays. Now since I don't need this, okay, so I'll remove this. Yeah, so now what I can do, you want to increase the access the first character, you can simply say a of 0. So this would give you the particular index, so I'm showing you this gives me first character. Now to access the last character, you can do either a dot length minus 1. So this would also work perfectly fine. Okay, it gives you the last character, but you could also use negative slicing in string. Like in Ruby, there is a negative slicing which returns you from the end. Okay, minus 1 is the last one. Minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. You keep on going like this. Okay, so I'll show you. Now it also gives the last character. So this is the two ways you can manipulate strings in Ruby. Now one we are left with some another command such as some basic is a dot upcase. Okay, and a dot put as a dot downcase. First I'll do one by one. Now a dot uppercase returns upper string and a dot downcase returns the lower case. So by default it was lower. Okay, now I'll do a dot uppercase. I'll do put as a. So here you might see, sorry. So now here you see that I did a dot uppercase, but then put as a didn't turn out to be the one in the upper capital letters. So for that you need to you put an exclamation mark, which is all. Now this would what it will do. This it will now do the inbuilt operation within that string. So see the output of this. Now it converts the default a to uppercase as well. Okay, so this is good. So now we can move to hash maps. So hash maps is like grades is equal to hash dot new. Okay, now you can do grades of 10 is equal to a plus, and grades of 9 is equal to a, and grades of 8 is equal to b. Now let's put as grades. So here is the hash map for us. 10 is a plus, 9 is a, and 8 is b. Now let's put as grades of 10. Okay, this should give us a plus, perfectly fine. So this is how we can use it. But what if I do grades of 7? So grades of 7 is not defined, and when I run this it gives me nothing. So to avoid that you can use grades or default. If it is not default, I'll do improve. Okay, now this would tend out to be improved. Now I'll run this again and it says improve. Okay, so this is how I can set the default value. Okay, now I can use this is good. Now I'll comment this out. A is equal to hash dot new and b is equal to hash dot new. Now a of 0 is equal to 1. Just I'm assigning some random values, or let this be a. B of 0 is also a. Okay, yeah. Now I'll do put s a and put s b. So uninitialized constant b, like line number 15. Okay, let me check what's the issue. So like there was some like it was like I might have not saved the file. A is equal to hash dot new, b is equal to hash dot new, a of 0 is equal to a, and b of 0 a. When I put s a and b, okay, so basically when I put s a and put s b, so both of the same are equal, both of the hash maps are equal. So I can also compare them using an equal to operator. So this gives out me the output true. Okay, now we could also, like, now it's perfectly fine. Now let's move to this hash map as well. Now I can do put s grades dot length. So this would give me the same, like, okay, I had to uncomment this, sorry. Yeah, so now I'll put grades dot length, it's 3, and I'll do grades dot size. It would also return me 3. Now I can do put s grades dot to underscore a, and it should me return like this as a string. Sorry, it converts this to an array. So this is also fine. So this is how you can do it. And one thing, because I converted this to an array, okay, so I told you you could also, if you want to see in other way around, you could do this. You can store this inside a variable x, and you can print x. Okay, so this is how we can do it. Okay, so this is how you convert into an array. And one one small exercise we can have right now, uh, you could also do this as well. Put a s grades dot has underscore value. So this worked as like I told you, the one like we had in like string, that is include. So it has a value 10 as a key. Okay, so okay, let's okay, so this is returning false. This is a value, sorry. So this is how you can do it. So 10 is not a value, it is a key. So for that you can run this true. Okay, so this is how you can do it for key and value. So by mistake I had did it for as key and has value, so you can understand for key and value particularly. So let's move to a very small exercise. Since we covered strings and hash map in this, string is equal to hello world. So let's create a program to count the frequency. So first creates a frequency as a hash map. Frequency is equal to hash dot new. So this would maintain the frequency. By initially the frequency should be frequency dot default is equal to 0. Now we do as dot each underscore char. We'll make a do, and I have the value. Okay, I have the value. Then frequency dot val plus equal to 1, and I can end this loop and simply put as frequency. Now let me clear this loop and run this. So here I have got all the frequency of the particular graph. So thank you everyone for watching this. So it was a simple exercise. Make sure you do this, else it will throw error. This will throw error because you need to initialize frequency of default to 0, else it will throw error because either you can also put a try catch statement, if statement inside this, but this is a better way of doing it. So today we are going to work on like date time in Ruby. So and I'm going to take you forward with some little bit good concepts in date time, because you might be working like get to work in backend on the Rails part. So you might like query on some date time part in your database and your like logic. So it would help you how you can manipulate, because when you keep the like a record of things, so you usually manage with date and time. So I'll tell you how you can achieve the same using like in Ruby. So let's start with our tutorial. So the basic thing you need to first type, you need to type require. Require is like is it is like you'll get to like learn new things in this. So require is used to like get this is required, so it is like an import statement. Require date. So required date would help you to like manipulate the uh, date records in Ruby. So now you can create a variable my date. Okay, uh, so you can create a variable my date var. So basically this would store a date, and you need to store date dot parse. And now you can put like in a string you can put 10th December 2021. So this is a very futuristic date. And now what you can do, you can like carry out few operations on this, such as put as my date var. So then put s. So like first we will do this. So let's run this, and we can type clear. Oh sorry, clear statement. And now this would clear a console. Now Ruby datetime.rb. So when you print this, so you get an output 2021 12. So basically, so this is how it depends. This gives the year format. Now this is the month and this is the day. So 2021 dash 12 dash 10. So this is a good output. Now what you can do, now you can do different things like put as my date var dot year. Okay, so basically now we can comment this. So this would usually print out the year. Okay, And in the same way you can approach for. Okay, so I'll show you one by one. So basically this would help you to have a clear approach. So I do clear and ruby datetime.rb. Yes, so 2021 is like, is this the like output of this? So next you can do put as my date var dot month. So basically this would either give you the month. Now this is 12. Okay, and now what you can do, you can simply comment this out. Now you can do put as my date var dot month day. So month day is given by m day. Okay, and now you can like run this. So I'm going little slow because this should help you here, because this is the 10th day of the month. Okay, now you can do put as my date var dot weekday. So this would tell you that which day of the week it is. So basically now you can following make the operations like weekdays 5. If it was 6 or 7, then you can refer that this was a weekend. Okay, so this is how it goes. Good. So now you can do clear, and now you can type so which day of the year it is. It is put as my date var dot y day. So this would basically give you the year day, so which day of the year it is. Okay, so let's run this, and it is a 344 day of the year. Okay, so good to go, good to go. Now what you can do, you can shift this date, my date var plus equal to 5, which is equivalent to like basically this is equal to my date var is equal to my date var plus 5. Okay, so you can use either of this. I'll use this notation, the second one, to have clarity. Now what you can do put as my date var dot, you can string format time. So this is strf time. Okay, so basically you're for formatting, and now I'll type you to do percent %a, percent %d, percent %b, and percent %y. Okay, so this is capital. Yeah, so let's run this. So now it basically, you can see by the notations it says the day is Wednesday, the day numeric in the week terms of week is Wednesday, day in terms of month is 15 December 2021. So this is like a very used notation to keep the track of the like date. Okay, so let's comment this. And okay, one thing I told you that I initialized as 10th December, and now I did this plus 5, which turned incremented it by 5 days. So this really, like, you can implement a good logic. So like just by putting 5 you can increase the whole date, so and get all the other details. So like this was 10th, sorry, this was 10th December. Now I incremented by 5 here, and then when I printed out this at this line, so it works like magic. Okay. Now you can comment this. Okay. So now what you can do, you can create another variable time. Okay. For that you require time. Okay. And let's comment this. So let's make some space so that it gives a clear view. So you can give my time var is equal to time dot new 2021 year 10th day 12th, this as December 6 5 10, and this is the notation basically which tells you plus. Make sure you put a 0500, though don't put directly like this 500, so put 0500. Okay, now in the same way what you can do put as my time var. Okay, and you can, I'll repeat this, put as my time dot var dot r. This would give you the hour. Now this would give you the minute, and this would give you the seconds. Okay, so let's run this. Yeah, so here you see, so the hour is 6, minutes is 5, then the seconds is 10. Okay, and You can like also do something, put as time dot now. So this would like print you the current time. Okay, good to go. Now we can clear the screen and we can also comment this. Now let's move on with some additional topic. So basically, I'll give you like there's a very like a small quick topic to you, which would really help you. So directory and exceptions. So basically, okay, I'll give you directory.rb. So basically, this is a new topic. So let's do this. Basically, what you can do put as run the directory commands directory.print. PWD stands for print working directory now. Like this would print your current working directory. So this is print working directory. Now I'll give Ruby directory.rb and this would print the current working directory. Okay, so this is the working directory I'm usually in, and this can be confirmed now. Then you can do run a command directory dot make directory. So basically these are all the like commands you do. Folder here, and then you can also check put as directory dot exists this exists folder here. So when I run this file now, you will see yes, this directory exists and it does create a directory to my left. Okay, now let's create another file, exceptions.rb. So this is another topic. So now to create a try catch statement Ruby, basically you can give a begin statement. Now in this begin statement you have three things: rescue. So one is rescue, okay, other is else, and other is ensure. So begin is put as begin. So basically okay, and then I'll do put as 3 by 0. Basically this is an error. To catch this error I'll do put as error catched. Okay, so else would like else is like put as if the error is not catched. If the error is not catched, then you can do this put as looks good. Okay, ensure is put as this should always run irrespective of above, irrespective of above. So always run irrespective of. Let's run this ruby exceptions.rb. So here you can see begin. Error is catched because 3 divided by 0 is a division by 0 error. So it's an error and it says error cache and always run irrespective of above. Now let's change to 1. This is not an error now because this is valid, 3 by divided by 1. So let's see begin, it does good. 3 is done because yes, it does put 3 out. It is not an error, looks good, always run irrespective of above. So this is how you deal with error handling in Ruby. So I'll continue with like classes and object oriented programming next tutorial. So thank you for watching for this tutorial. Thank you everyone. Bye. So today we are going to start with some object oriented programming in Ruby. So let's create a most basic example. Let's create a class in Ruby, class person, and we can like a notation use with a capital P. And let's close this class by using an end tag. Now we can create a constructor in this class with def initialize. So basically we initialize with id, name and age. So then we do close this constructor. uh, it's a good habit you keep closing them because then it would be very like difficult for you to like know where which method or attribute or a constructor is left of being closed, and it will throw an error. So now we can do @id. So basically we are declaring variables and assigning them values, and at the rate, like these are like some Now this works as a property of the class, what we call them the attributes, and another are methods and functions. So basically now we start setting the properties and attributes. At the rate name is equal to name, and at the rate age is equal to age. Now you can make a intro method, define intro, and which would particularly give you the intro, put s, and you can start putting my name is, put this in a hash symbol at the rate name, okay, and my age is, put this in a like a symbol hash at the rate age, okay. So this is like your intro works, so it looks perfectly fine. Now let's create a person. So let's create a person, and we can try our code. P1 is equal to person dot new. We give it an as id, we pass three parameters, id 1 Joe, and 25 is the age, and p2 is equal to person dot new. Let's create an id of 2 James, and let's give an age of 30, okay. Yeah, now we can do p1 dot intro. Let's call this p1 dot intro. Now let's run this ruby classes dot rb. So my name is Joe and my age is 25, perfectly fine. Now we can do p2.intro, and this should run the another one. So my name is James and my age is 30. So everything looks perfectly fine. Now a very small concept here is we want to see how many persons were created. Okay, like to keep a track of how many persons were created, you can create a class variable. So basically these belong to the class. Okay, so these belong to the class, and we can initialize persons is equal to 0. This doesn't belong to the object, this belong to the class. So these are like class variables in like that belong to the class. Now we can make a something, a method which says def self dot get person count, because, and we can do get self dot get person count. And so this is like a method which is has access to the self class, and it basically return at the rate persons, okay. Now what you can do, so now we are using the class. So put as person dot get person count. So you can comment this, yeah. Now good to go. Let's clear this and run. So did you mean uninitialized class variable in person? So see, there might be some error. Yeah, so yeah, this I had initialized as 0, so this will like now it will work. Let's run this. So now initially 0 persons have been counted because I ran the program again. Now let's do one thing. Let's create a one person. Now let's run this, and it still gives, okay. Yeah, now because I'll tell you why it was throwing 0, because when you initialize a person you need to increment this by 1 as well. I hope you get it. So what you can do now, it looks perfectly good. So I'll give a quick overview. We initialize the class variable with 0, increment by 1 whenever the constructor is called. Now you create a method to get its value, okay. Now when a one person has been created, so it should give me 1. When two person has been created, it should return me 2, okay. Now let's create another person. P3 is equal to person dot new, like third person we are creating, so we can give them any name. Let's give them a, a Jack, and let's give an age of 40. Now let's run this. Now it, you will see, now it gives 3. So this is how we do it. Now let's make a small inheritance part. So let's do class human, and let's end this, and define a person evolve. And let's end this and say put s put s humans evolve. Okay, now let's do inheritance. So this is how we do. We initialize person and inherit with human class. Now let's comment this out. Yeah, so let's comment this. We don't need like this part, so let's comment this. And now we let us do put as p1 dot evolve. Okay, so p1 dot evolve. So this is evolve. Yeah, now let's run this. So humans evolve because okay. Now let's do though basically now I'm trying to show you runtime inheritance. What if it had its own method evolve? Def evolve, and like we end this and we do put as uh like person evolve, persons evolve, or you can say people evolve. So basically this is like a just a dummy thing to show you. And now you see people evolve because it had its own evolve method, then it called it. If it doesn't, then it called the human. But make sure you make inheritance. Okay, so this is how we do it. And let's move to some like a very simple one. uh so I'll just make comment, I'll comment everything. Yeah, now let's take another class box. Now you can initialize with this. And now basically you can create initialize height comma w and say at the rate height is equal to h, and at the rate width is equal to w, and this is end. Okay, now you can now make some getters and setters. So basically get height. Okay, and define get height, define get width. Okay, now you can close this. Now define set height. Okay, so basically now you pass a parameter and define set width. Now you pass a parameter now you pass a parameter, and now here you see. So now you can do at the rate width is equal to w, at the rate height is equal to h. Now return at the rate height. So basically these are the getters and these are the setters, and return at the rate width. Now you can also make access specifiers to this by using this private. Okay, let's do private get height, get width, set height, set width. Okay, so basically you can make them private and make a public one is like uh, get area. So how you would work with get area? Define get area, and basically you would end this. And now you can simply return at the rate height star at the rate width. Okay, so basically let's create a b1 is equal to box dot new 0 comma 0 and put as b1 dot get area. So ruby classes dot rb. Okay, expecting end. So like there's some issue, let me check with this. Hey everyone, it was like a small error. Like you need to define the colon, like put the colon before the methods. So initially, what I did, I had this put a private colon here, and I didn't put these. So this was like wrong notation. So that is why it threw an error. Now it's like good to go. So what I'll do, I'll put it like undo this. Yeah. So basically you can make them private. So but now I'll comment this. So now what you see that I created a box with zero values and I set the height and width. Then I did like get height and get width and put get area. So let's run this. So it says, yeah, the height is 20, width is 10, which we had set it them using the setter, and the get area is 200. So this is how you can implement things. And then so this is like some getter and setter, which were like encapsulation. So thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. You can explore some like creating some your own classes and moving out some inheritance. So this should like really help you. So thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. So I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you. Bye. Today we are going to learn about how to install Rails on our local machine. So this is like a Rails to install Rails on your machine. It has like a few dependencies. So basically we are going to cover each dependency, how we can install each dependency so that our Rails application works perfectly fine on our machine. So what we can do, so we can first what we can do, we can like just like open few links, and so basically we will start with one link at a time. So let's open this link. Now this is the Node.js official website. You can move to this website and download this installer, and this is the LTS version. You can download the long-term support version, so LTS version, and you can install Node.js on your machine. So when you have installed Node.js on your machine, then you can, this would help you to install like the npm package. Okay, so when you have installed like node.js, so you can run this command on your machine, node minus minus version, and this would help you get started with that. So I'll give you a quick hint. When like I will open the command prompt, and I will type node minus minus version. So here you can see the node has been installed on my machine, so it looks perfectly fine. Okay, so yeah, so then you can then you have installed node on your machine. Then what you can do, you can move to the another link. This is like how to install yarn. The yarn is another dependency required to install rails on your machine. So so when you have installed node.js, so you would have access to npm package. So you can run this command npm install minus minus global yarn, or the alternative way is to click on this and click on operating system Windows classic stable version, and you can download the installer. So when you have downloaded the installer, so you can install yarn as per you will get a setup. So you will have an msi installer, and you will this will give you a .msi file that will walk you through installing yarn on Windows. So basically it will give you a setup which will help you installing yarn on your machine. So this is one of the methods, okay, to install yarn on your machine. So basically now you have covered the two parts. So basically you have installed node.js and yarn, and you can install with by npm also. So you can install by npm, and you can run this command, and to check if this is installed after then you have to type yarn minus minus version. Okay, so here you can see you have got like two things. The one is node and another is yarn. So next, moving to the third part, you can move to SQLite website. So this is the third dependency, and when you click on this link, so you can access to this. So this is, now you move to this precompiled binaries for Windows. Now you have to choose either of one of them, either 32-bit or 64-bit. Okay, choose according to your system, 32-bit or 64-bit. So this is required. So this is required, either 32-bit or 64-bit. Install any one of them. So like depending on your system, then this one is mandatory, you have to install. So what you'll get, you get two files in this, and two files in this, and three files in this. So since this one is compulsory, so this will be three files, and either one of them will be 3 plus 2, that is 5 files. You have to extract all the files and copy them and paste them into your C Windows System 32. Okay, So then when you copy and paste them inside in the C Windows System 32, then your SQLite is perfectly installed, and you can type SQLite 3 minus minus version. Okay, so this would help you install SQLite on your machine. So here it's good to go. Yeah, so nice. Now what you need to do, now moving to the fourth part, you need to do you need to move to Ruby installer website. So basically Ruby installer is intended to install Ruby on your Windows machine. Okay, so basically you have Ruby, and like you can click on download button, and this will give you a list from where you can choose from which Ruby version you have to download and install. I would recommend you to download this latest version, and then you can walk through. If you have like followed my previous tutorials, so you must have already followed this step to install Ruby on your machine. Okay, so this is the fifth part. Now to access, check whether Ruby installed, you need to type Ruby minus minus version. You have Ruby. Now Ruby by default installs the gem package manager, so gem minus minus version. So 3.23 is also installed. So now you have to execute two commands. One is gem install SQLite 3. Okay, okay, then gem install SQLite 3 would like install SQLite on your machine, and there's something like this you need to type. Okay, and yeah, so this is the step is needed. uh, and another one is this: you have to run this command, gem install rails. So after running these two commands, then you can like you have installed rails on your machine successfully. So this one is the most important command, gem install rails. Okay, so after that you have to type rails minus minus version, then you have rails on your machine. So the latest version of the rails is 6.1.3 6.1.3.1. So like then you have installed rails on your machine. So I walked you through the part like how you can install rails on your machine. Then simply you can move to like C. So C can move to desktop. I can move to desktop, and I will do rails new, and basically this is your project name. Okay, so you can type any project name. I can type rails my project, and here you can see that now it will start creating a rails project on your machine. And a bundle install is like installing all the like dependencies required for your project. So basically this would show you how to install like dependencies on your like for your project. And when this process is successful, then you are able to run the rails application on your machine. Okay, so like this would like take a little time. So you can like, so basically then you can I can walk you through like few commands. So basically rails, I'll give a quick overview. Rails is an MVC architecture. So MVC, M stands for model. So M stands for models, V stands for view, and C stands for controller. Okay, so models is like basically like working with your database, and then you have view. Then like view is like presentation on front end, presentation layer, and controller is like communicating, logic and communication. Okay, so basic logic and communication, and you can say either linking the above two, linking above two. Okay, so like this is like MVC architecture followed in rails. So here you can see like it's installing like the rails, it's like rails on your like project on your machine. Then you can type the command. So basically there are two commands. One is rails new project name, and you can then type rails server. Okay, so by default it will start with the server on your local machine. Okay, so I hope it's good to go. then the Rails server will be started on your local machine. So this is how like the process will go. And then you like this is like is followed. So we can like wait for this process to complete. Then I think we can like start the Rails server on our machine. So hey everyone, welcome back. So like I had like now this has been installed. The Rails project has been initialized in our like directory. So basically, we can like I was this here. C use personal desktop. I had created the Rails project here. Now I can move inside my project by cd my project, and I can simply type Rails server. And here you can see now the Rails server will start on my local host. And at the same point you can move to the project inside the same project directory, and you type code dot, so this would open VS Code. So basically this is the gem file. Like there are like various things here, so we will like go over through it. And like so the Rails like server has been started on my machine. So now you can type local host colon 3000, and you can see the Rails server runs perfectly fine on my machine. So this is like the Rails. Now you can, this is how you can access Rails server on your machine, and at the same time you can see that I made a get request for the same. So you can track the server here. So from next we will start with some basics of Rails. So thank you for watching this tutorial. Thank you everyone. So today we are continue with the tutorial on Ruby on Rails. So basically today we are going to work with routes in Ruby. So basically routes in Ruby means like URL. So basically when you create an application, you create different URLs like for different purposes. So we will see how to create some URLs in Rails, and we will start like learn what we can process after creating a route. So basically so let's start with our application. So very first thing you need to create is like the first thing is like I'll give a quick overview. Okay. uh, since Ruby is a MVC framework, so M stands for models, that is your database. So basically this refers to database. Views is like your presentation. So basically that is your HTML and like HTML and front end. So basically this is like for your presentation. Okay. Presentation. And the another one is controller. So controllers are basically used to like basically like it is like based to communicate and navigate between the above two. So basically controllers take control between uh, where like between models and views. Okay, so basically they are the one which basically communicate. So basically controllers helps you to communicate between the above two. So this is how MVC framework is completed. So first thing we need to do is okay, so first thing we need to do is we need to type Rails server. So basically I'll also give you a quick like overview what are like important commands like initially you should know which will help you out. So one command is Rails server. So this will start the server. Okay. Yeah. And another is Rails console. So this will like this will start the console, and you can like do interact with your database models inside this console. So this has a short notation of Rails S, also known as Rails S, and this is also known as Rails C. Another one is Rails generate. So basically generate is used to like generate like model views and controllers, so you can generate things with this. So basically to generate, and it has a short notation of Rails G. So basically these are the commands you should know, and preferably this should help you out in this tutorial. So first thing you need to move inside your project directory. I have already created a project, and like you can, and I have already created a project, and and now I'll start the server inside my project. I'll type Rails server. I've already created a project with the name my project. So Rails server is this. So when I do this, so the Rails server should start on my local machine. So basically Rails server is now started, and when I, like here you can see, when I move to this port localhost, I see the server is running. So here you can see the server is running on my machine. So basically it starts on this port, and I have a command line shell to like take care of the things. Now what you can do, now I have terminated the server. Now I'll type Rails generate controller, and this should be my controller name. Now after this I should have my controller name. So basically I can type any controller. So let me type root. Okay, so just for your preference I'm typing root. I'm highlighting this as well, so like this is for my reference. Now when I run this command, so now it will take uh, take a little bit of time, not much, but now here you can see that now it has created some files. So the first thing is between I taught you like these are like the commands you are going to like interact with Rails most probably most of the time, and this is like its definition how Rails is defined, MVC model. So now we are going to have an overview of little bit of files, because understanding the structure is very important. So you need to understand where database is defined, where views is defined, where controllers are defined. So this would help you out. So most probably you can see here itself that inside my app folder, there is a folder, three folders, like one is models, okay, one other is views, and another is controllers. Okay, so when I wrote this command Rails generate controller root, so it itself created a root controller inside here. Here you can see the Rails had like generated this controller for me. So now you can see the class root controller, like it has inherited the properties from application controller. So here you can see, so it has so here you can see that there is an application controller here. Okay, now my root controller inherits from application controller. So basically my root controller inherits some properties from application controller, so that is a part of inheritance. But the main point is here is that it has already generated a root controller. Now I can now when I have generated a controller, so it has also generated the corresponding views for it also. Now inside my views folder, here you can see there is a folder called root, which Rails generated. Right now it's empty, but I'll show you how this works. Okay, so now uh, let's move to routes.rb. Now let's define uh, a route get. Okay, and we need to define get. So first we will define few routes and then we'll carry. Okay. Hey, hey everyone, welcome back. So first let's define a route. So now I'll define like a route with get request, and it will say contact. Okay. Then I'll define a route with contact then slash about. Okay. So these are like few basic routes I've defined. So now I'll define a two parameter which says where it should go when I hit this route. Okay, where it should go. So it should go to root. Okay, okay. Now I'll show you first. When I type slash contact, uh, slash contact and slash about, so where should my function call exist? Okay, so it should, I will define a function in the root controller which says define about. Okay, it says end, and then another is define contact. Okay, and it says end. So basically these two methods should be called inside the controller when I hit that route. Okay, to clarify that we will say to root hash about. Okay, and for this we will say root hash contact. So when I hit these two routes, you should call the about method inside the root controller and the contact method inside the root controller. So when I reach here, so it will hit this. Okay, so let's first now what you need to do, and like now when you hit a route, so basically you have two options. Either you create for particular request, you have two options. The first option is to for one request you have two options. First is to return a JSON response. Okay, so basically that is your API. Or second is to render a HTML page. So that is your second option. Okay, so to make sure, if you want to return like HTML page, so you should have the inside your root folder. Basically inside views you have root, so you should have a file with HTML name as about.html.erb, and another should be contact.html.erb. Okay, so like these are the two files, and in this I will define an h1 tag of about. Okay, okay, and in this I will define a h1 tag of contact. Okay, so here you can see like I have created this. Now when I hit these two routes, like now I'll give you a quick hit these two routes. When I hit them successfully, you should call the inside the root controller you should call this method about and contact, and we will here by default say render about page. Okay, and render contact. Okay, and what we can also do, we can say put s about page about in server. Okay, put s about in server, and in the same way we can say put s contact in server. And like if we are able to like figure out like this would really help us to see the console also. Okay, so let's run this. Now let's run this. We will type the command rails server. So our server should start now. Okay, so here you can see the server has started. So now let's hit this page about. So we have reached the about, and let's hit this one as well, contact. So here we have reached the contact page also, and now you can see there is a specific line which says contact in server, and it was also like, and there is this line also about in server. So here you can see whenever like I hit this route in the routes.rb, it calls the about method and the contact method of my root controller. Make sure that it can have any name. I named it as root. You can name it with any other name. Then when it like when it had hitted the like method, so it had first run the put statement, then it called the render method to render the HTML page. So this is like the most basic tutorial to create a route and render an HTML page in Rails. Now, in the next we will try to return a JSON response. So I hope you to catch up you all in the next tutorial. So thank you everyone for watching this. So today we are going to continue with the Rails tutorial. So to start with, first we will start a Rails server. Okay, so let's start a Rails server with the command Rails server. So the short form of this command is Rails S also. So now when like in previous tutorial I have showed you some like these things, how to create a server console and the generate command. So we had generated a controller for the same. So let's move to the our server. So let's refresh this page. So here you can see like this is the page we get. Okay, so let's define one another route, and let's say get slash index, and it moves to root slash index hash index. So let's define a index method here. So let's define index, and this should be on the top basically like above all. So let's, yeah, perfectly fine. So let's render index. Okay, now I hope you must have watched my previous tutorial to like get. So basically we are creating an index route which hits to root slash index and root hash index, and when we move to root hash index it calls the index method, and it renders the index erb. So let's create an index erb, which is by default should be created in the root folder, and it should be the name index.html.erb, and it says h1 with an index page. Okay, so yeah, so let's move to this route slash index. So okay, it is throwing an error. Okay, it's a quite a small error. I'll help you resolve it. So basically, in our route.rb, I forgot to put like a colon here. So yeah, now it should work fine. So now we have like achieved the index page. Okay, let's move to the another page, contact, and let's move to the another page, about. Okay, so it works perfectly fine. So what you need to do, like here you have like written render index. So instead of index, if you want to like the one thing you could also do is like we can comment these things, and this is not required, like console statements are not required. You can see that whenever I hit that method, the console is these statements are ran in the console. So when I remove this line, okay, let me remove this line: render contact, render about, and render index. So Rails by default has the ability to map that ERB if the method name is same. Okay, and here you can see contact, and here you can see index. Okay, so if inside the index you want to by default render index, so you can leave blank, and if you want to render about, you could also do that. Okay, so when I hit the index page, I move to the about page. Okay, index route moves to the about page. So like this sounds little confusing, but we should follow the convention because it increases the readability of the code, and we know what is going out when. So basically, you should put these statements, and it's like easier to debug then. Uh, contact. So now we can like remove the statements. So yeah. So now what we can do, uh, a short activity like we are going to perform right now. So we know that when we hit the rootmost route of this page like this is, so we get the Ruby on Rails page. So for that, what we can type, we can define root, and it should be root hash index. So one thing I wanted to make clear: don't confuse this root keyword with my root controller, because I could have named any root controller, but this is a like a reserved keyword in Rails for the like giving the root route. So let's refresh this page, and now you can see now this route is the index route. So you could also do this to about. So now about one becomes the root, perfectly fine. You could also do this to contact, and contact one will become the like default one. So this is how it's performed. So this is how we have achieved this like the root route. So this is like easy to do, and yeah, so let's keep it this to index. If we are keeping this to index, then this is not required. Okay, so we can either comment this out, or like I'll comment this out because this is not required, and I'll move this to top. Now like yeah, so this is perfectly fine. So now one short active we are going to supposed to do. We are going to create a one like API method. Uh, let's create API, and let's end this. Let's create a variable response, and let's give them a key. So basically, in Rails, we give a key by giving a colon. So status and is equal to 200, and basically it is like a hash map, and message is equal to hello world. Now basically there are a lot of render methods. We can do render JSON, and this is will send a response. So basically I'm showing you this because like this is like most used one. so it will help you. And now I'll type get flash response, and we hit like the root hash API. So when I hit move to the response route, I call the API method of the root, and then we can see the response. So let's move to response. So here you can see a status of 200 and a message of hello world is there. So this is how we have created a mock JSON response. So that's good. So there are multiple, you could like figure out these. I close this as well, and this, and yeah. So there are like multiple methods, like one is JSON, another is status. Okay, I'm telling you, you can like refer, there are many. Then one is HTML, one is body, one is like HTML, there is a XML, then there is a JSON, then is a JS as well. So there are many methods like plain, uh, text, so there are many. So you can like serialize your data like in many ways as like you want. So this one will be like JSON, so this one is perfect. So now let's do one thing I'll show you. Let's create a file, header dot html dot erb, and let's create another file, new file, footer dot html dot erb. So one thing like you must have like seen here, like I'm putting a underscore tag in between, like in front when naming this file. So basically this underscore tag defines a partial. So I'll give this in notes, like this is a underscore tag means a partial. So partial is something where you can render the same thing again and again. So I'll show you. Uh, when I move to like this page, header.html.erb, so I'll create header, okay, and I'll close this, and I'll put a HR tag. So I'll put a HR tag in the top and the bottom as well. In the same way, I'll copy the same code in the footer, and I'll this name is add to footer. Okay, when I move to my index page, so when I move to my index page, so I'll define, so this is like Rails has a template engine, so this is the syntax, render header, and this is how we define, like this is like these braces are very important because this signifies the template engine in Rails. Okay, so let's close the server and I'll start the server again. So the server should start. So yeah, the server has started. So let's refresh the page at the index. So here you can see I have a header. Okay, and in the same way I can render a footer. Okay, so like yeah, so this is how we achieve, and now we can use these partial everywhere. Like if in this page we want a footer only, okay, or we want a footer at the like footer only, so we can do only footer. And let's refresh and move to contact. So here I only have the footer. So this is how you can maintain the partials, and partials can be rendered only wherever they are required. So thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. So I'll catch you in the next tutorial with some more content on Rails. Thank you everyone. Today we are going to continue with our Ruby on Rails tutorial. So basically I'll give you a quick overview what we have achieved in like few last tutorials, and today we are going to carry on with those things. So basically we had created three routes. One is a contact route, about route, and JSON response route. And there was a root route that when we open our application, so it should hit to this method of the controller. So basically we had created this route as well, get slash index, then we had replaced this with the root route. So we had created a controller root. So we had few methods of the root controller. One is a contact, about, API, index. Then let's move to the root controller. Then inside we have defined those methods, index, about, contact, API, and then we render ERB files for that particular method. So we have rendered the index ERB, about ERB, contact ERB, and we, for one method, we render a JSON response. So today, then this is the root controller. Here it is located in the controllers file. Then we have like views. We can close this views. Yeah, then there is a views for root layout, and for index, about, contact, index, header and footer. Basically these two are partials because they are defined by underscore sign, so we have implemented the partials here. So let's start our server first, and let's see how our app is running till now, and we can proceed with the things. Yeah, so here you can see the server has started, and basically now we can move to the server, and let's refresh this page. So you see few things. We are in the index page, and it has a header and footer. Let's move to contact, and here you have contact and a footer. Now let's move to about, the about route. So here it has an about, so it neither has a header or footer. So for that we need to integrate a partial. So here you can see we have embedded a like a footer. So let's uh, add a footer, and here we can add a header. uh, so we can have a header, and now let's copy this, paste it here as well. And so here we have a header here. Now I'll put this above this, and I'll remove this contact. So it seems perfectly fine. So here we see we have a header and a footer. Now one thing to note here is that we don't like, this is not like a, this is a very basic HTML, and if we want to integrate some styling, we can achieve that. So but before that, I'll cover few basics. One is like, now I'll close few files because they might create some confusion. Yes, so let's create a route. Okay, now we move to contact page. Okay, and let's move to contact page. So here we are on contact page. Okay, so now we move to root slash contact. So we move to root hash contact, and we are here. Okay, so we render a contact page. But what if I do this, instead of commenting this, I would do redirect underscore to slash about. If I do this, let me restart my server. I clear Rails server. Yeah. So what if I type this command, redirect to about? So let me refresh. Let me move to contact route, and you can see that I was redirected. I'll show you again. This is the index. Okay. Now this is the contact one. Now when I click on contact, you see I am redirected. So you can use this to make a redirection, but like, make sure like you use it for a good purpose, because then it might create a confusion. So this is about the redirect route. So basically you can redirect from one route to another using this. Next is I'll pass you parameters. uh, get get uh, get like user slash id. Okay, and I'll put name, and it will be 2 slash 2 root slash hash hash user, root hash user. And let's create this method. So basically define a user, and let's make an end of this, and let's simply render JSON with params. Okay, so basically params is what we return. Like, I'll show you. So let's again restart my server. Yeah, yes. So let's move to this route. First let me check the server is running. Yes, so yes, server is running. Let's move to this user slash, let's give it an id 10, and name is Joe. Okay, now let's hit this and you see we get a JSON response of params. So controller is root, action is user. So now it defines very clearly, controller is root, action is user, ID is 10 and name is Joe. What we can do here, we can return params of ID. First we'll return only this. Let's make a refresh. We get 10 here only. Now let's make params of name. We get Joe. So or we could simply do render params. So this is how we access params. Basically I will show you that params of ID you can access the ID and params of name you can access the name. So basically now it seems perfect. Now you can refresh and here you can see that we have a controller root action with the response of params. A small activity we are going to do now to you can embed Bootstrap in your Rails app very simply. You can click here get started. So basically when you click on get started, either you can move to this page and then you have a CSS JS and like bundle. So to copy this, we want the Bootstrap to be available on every page of our app. So what we can do, there is a main layout. We can close this, close this. In views, there is a main page application.html.erb. Inside here, we can copy this link, CSS link, copy, and we can put this just above the header. Okay, so we see this has been embedded, and then we can embed the JS as well. So let's embed the JS. Yes, so this is a bundle. Like you can the bundle means like both of them are like, if you want separate you can do this, like if you want it in a bundled way, so you can use this. So for the bundle one, just put this below your closing body tag. So the CSS has to be put like below your head tag which is closed, and the bundle has to be put like JS bundle has to be put just before the closing body tag. And now let's refresh the page and let's move to the, just see the difference in the uh, uh, fonts. So you might be seeing something different, so it looks pretty nice. So you can like make a close call that Bootstrap has been installed. Then you can press Ctrl U, so it will bring to the source code, and in the source code you can see the Bootstrap has been installed. So basically this is the template. Now what we can do, we can move to here and we can move to some components, and let's move to the component navbar. The simplest one is this. Okay, so if we move to our header partial and let's remove this and let's copy the Bootstrap navbar and let's refresh now. See how it's easy to integrate with our app. So like we had already made a partial, we changed that partial, and all the changes which have been wherever this partial has been included, all the changes are there. So everywhere there like it's been included. So for this you can like do this. uh, for footer we can, just for an example I'm using this pagination, and let's move to here and let's remove this and let's add this and let's refresh the page. So here you can see how simple it's easy to add. Okay, so it's just like this was like uh, just to show you how things works. Now this was like a pretty good exercise and decent one. You can like, if you want to like edit some CSS here, you can click on inspect element. This would open the Chrome developer tools, and basically uh, you can, if you want to like align this to center, so basically this and you can element margin 0 auto. You can try a few out things here and this would surely help you out. Okay, so this was it. Like this is how you can like take care of things, and you can try some different CSS here like margin 0 auto, like anything you want to just keep on trying things here. So basically this will really help you. Okay, so thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. So I'll catch you in the next tutorial. Thank you everyone. So basically we had first I'll start my server, Rails server, and then let's wait for the server to get started. So yes, server is running. Let's refresh this page. So basically we had a footer here. I give, in last tutorial I took a small task to how to align this in center. So basically, so since you can see that this is a flex box, so align flex box to center is justify content. You have basically few types of justify content, that is center, flex end. The end would move this to end, start would we keep it as starting. Then basically there are a few things, space around, space between, so space evenly. So you can opt for any. So basically the best one you can choose for is center. Okay, and so basically you have to center, and then you can see that this is in center. So let's click on inspect and let's check. Yeah, it's even, it's here, it's center. So this is a flex class, so we will give this as style is equal to justify content center. So let's refresh this. Now we have perfectly moved to this. So this was a good thing to know about. And now let's move to, let's create a model. So basically uh, this is our like project directory. So I have opened this in terminal so that it gives you clear view. So I could do the same thing in the VS Code terminal, but that's why I've opened a terminal here to have a good overview. So now we are going to perform something. Let's create Rails generate model article. Okay, or let's keep it as post. Rails generate model post. So post is something you uh, like you define something a post which has a like a title, so that is a string, and it has a text, so that is a you can say like this is title is string, and you have a description, so basically that is of text data type. So let's run this, and now you can see that it has created a model, and now we can do Rails db. So basically model is like a creating a table in your database. Now we want to permanently move to this table. So we want this to like migrate this into database. So we had created a model which defines that we are going to create something with a title string and description text. Now let's create Rails db migrate, and then you can see that this should be created uh, permanently in the database. So here it says this has been created. Created table post, and the descriptions we have already mentioned what we are going to create. So okay, before you perform few operations with the this table or model which I say, so basically, so you can interact with this inside Rails console. Okay, so please type Rails console, and then you have an interactive Rails shell to work with. Then you can interact with this inside the Rails console. So let's type post, but it shall throw an error because it says call post.connection to establish a connection. Okay, so that's why I did this post.connection. So so we have made a connection, so it throws out a good amount of things, so we shall ignore this. Okay, and okay, I have missed out on my cursor. Yes, so we can type clear this. You can type control L, control L, control plus L. So this should clear out. Okay, so okay, control plus L, and now this would clear out, and now you have. Now let's take a post, make post A is equal to post. Okay, so basically it defines uh A. So ID is an integer, title is a string, description is a text, created at is a date time, updated at a date time. Okay, so let's give a dot title is equal to hello. Okay, okay, undefined. Okay. So I'll tell you what's the issue with this. See, so basically we need to call the constructor, so you can for a second ignore this. So we will call a is equal to post dot new. Okay, now you see we get a post ID is nil, title is nil, description nil, created ID is nil, update ID is nil. But at that time what I was doing a is equal to post, which eventually meant a is equal to post, which is a is equal to post, so which is by default meant this, that post, and which was returning this. Okay, so this is the class. Post is a class. Now a, which I have created, is equal to post.new, is the object of that class, or you can say the instance of that class. Now post is a class, and a is equal to post.new is the object of that class, because we have called the new as a constructor. So let's define a, and let's do a dot title is equal to hello, and a dot description is equal to world. Okay, now we type a, so we have title is equal to hello and description is equal to world. Now to save this inside our database, we should call a dot saved. So it says true, which means it has been saved in our database. And let's call a again. So it says id1, title is hello world, description is world, and this is the created at and updated at things which is throwing. And one thing you can see, it also gives out the SQL query insert into post, and title, description, created, update, values should be this and this. So this is how it creates it into database. Let's create another one. Let's first call post as a class. So it's not necessary to call it every time, but I'm showing you again. Now let's call b is equal to post dot new. Let's call b. So this is a post, has been, this is the nil. Let's write b dot title. Title is equal to programming. Either we can say Ruby. Okay, and b dot description is equal to Rails. Simple. Let's call b again, and it says this, and let's call b dot save, then it shall save this inside the database. Okay, now we have two posts, one is this and another is this. So to access all the posts, you could call post dot all simply. Okay, so it gives all the posts you have. So this is one with the id 1 and another is with the id 2. Here you can see this is the id 2 and this is the id 1. So both the posts you get. Then we can call post dot find. Find is like, I'll show you post dot find one. Like find the post with the id 1. It finds us for us for that. Now we can say in the similar way call post dot find 2. This we could also call post dot where id id you like we could id. Okay, there's some issue with my command line. Okay, post dot where id is equal to 1. So where, and what's the difference between the find and post, find and where? So this is the another way of doing the same thing, but find has a limit 1. Okay, so we have learned about like how to create. Now let's move to how to like, let's do something new. Let's make post dot find 2. So let's make post. Now let's change this title to title is equal to ruby uh, ruby new. Okay, so we have b, and let's b dot description is equal to rails new, and let's see. So we do b dot save. So this is our update operation. Okay, so say update post. See, update post set title is it, description this, and these are the value. We could also do post dot find 2 and destroy. So basically this forms a delete operation. So we have learned how to like perform all the 4 CRUD operations, that is create, delete, update and delete, on the Rails console. So now we are going to implement the same thing with the UI. So thank you everyone for watching this. I'll catch you in the next tutorial. Thank you. Now, what in previous tutorial we have learned about models in Rails. So we are going to continue with further development, how to develop our application in Rails. So we had created a model in Rails, and basically you can type here. So I have already started my server. I'll show you how to you can type Rails server to start your server, and instead of server you can type Rails console. So it will open an interactive shell on your Rails machine. Okay, so and here you can start your server Rails server. So I have opened the console here so that it gives you a better view. And we had made post.connection. So we had made a model post.connection, and you can now press Ctrl plus L, and then you can print post. So it gives you the data structure what we are following in the post. So it has an ID integer, title string, description text, created at date time and updated at date time. So so this is how I showed you few operations in the last video of Osdal what we can perform. Now this is our server, and let's move with something new to this addition. Now what you can do, you can move to Bootstrap website, and I can click here, open into tab, and this would guide me to the Bootstrap website. I can refer to this page, and here uh, what I can do, I can move to forms, and I can refer to forms, and what I can do here is click on overview, then click on like this an overview, and this would give you like you will have different things of forms here. Then you can click on like form control, so you can move to this page and you can copy this. Let's copy this. Let's copy this and let's paste this inside. We have a few files. Let's paste this on index.html, and let's paste this here, and then our application, let's refresh this. So basically now we have a form here. Okay, so this forms looks pretty big. So what we can do, we can try to small it down, and for this we can add this, give this class as call md6 to take the width of 6, and let's give it a class of call md6. So okay, so nothing to this, so let me inspect this element, and yeah, so here, yeah, so I have this div class is called md6, and this should work, I think. Okay, so let's make another div. Let's make another div, and let's wrap this inside this div. Yeah, and let's this give this div a class of call md6, because Bootstrap has a total width of 12 columns. We are asking it to take a width of 6 columns. Let's okay, it doesn't work either now, and let's give it a call 6. Okay, I forgot to like close the tag. Yeah, yeah, now it should work. Yeah, so now it works perfectly fine. And then you can give style of margin 0 auto. So this would place this inside the center. Okay, so this should work perfectly fine. Yeah, and you can like this is perfectly fine. And inside our header, let's create, instead of header, let's give this a to do app, and let's give this a to do app, and we can like now everything looks perfectly fine, and we are good to like, so yeah, so this is good. Okay, so yeah, so now we try to create a to do app here from now, and this is example email address. Now let's modify a few things so that we can operate on them. So instead of this, let's give this a title, and here if we give this a title, name is equal to title. So here we give it a name as a title, and here we give this a name. Okay, the name should, the input type is equal to text. So let's give the input type is equal to text. Okay, I'll try to close this. Yeah, yeah. So this is the input type is equal to text, and let's give this a name is equal to title, and here we have a text area. Let's give this as a name is equal to text area. Okay, so this looks good. So this is how we operated. So this is title, and this is basically for us this means description, so we will give this as a description, and this is, here we also type it as description. Okay, so descript, description is good. Yeah, so let's, and we remove this, and we need to wrap this everything inside a form. Okay, and let's close this here. So let's, yeah, so we need to wrap this inside a form. Yeah, so this looks pretty good. Yeah, so fine. So this is like a kind of a footer for us, this is like a kind of header, and so we need to, like, this is how we define this. So this looks good. So we have made some boilerplate front end for our app, and instead of email you should change this to text. Okay, and now we create a method for this. Method is equal to post, and yeah, so let's refresh this. So good. So we have made this method is equal to post, and let's create an action is equal to add. Okay, let's create this to add. So action is to slash add, and so this should work fine. And so let's create a, so since like we have created this response, so let's create this action which takes a post request and give it a slash add, and let's create something as this: 2 is equal to root hash add. Okay, and let's create a, okay, one thing you need to make sure that you need to add a token tag here, because a post request needs a CSRF token, and you need to define token underscore tag here, and you can now close this tag, and this is looks perfectly fine. So let's refresh this page. So yeah, good. Now we need to define a post request inside a controller, so that is define add, and that is end, and render JSON params is the same thing we are going to do here. And inside a form we need to define like a button. So let's define a button. So let's click this same class, div class is equal to mb3, and let's create a button input. Let's create a button. Yeah, so let's create a button input type is equal to text, class is equal to btn primary, and let's, yeah, so it's a good, and we can remove this placeholder because this is not needed. We can remove this placeholder. Okay, we can remove this placeholder. ID is also not needed. Okay, okay, ID is needed, and because ID is equal to needed, because let's give this to title ID, and let's give to this a description ID, description ID, and we need to like wrap this description ID here, because this is works on ID and this is text ID. So like a good amount of changes has been done. Let's refresh this, and yes, so this is btn primary, and a value should be add. Okay, and let's give a style is equal to display block. Okay, and it should be done. Yeah, so yeah, so this is a button add, and let's give a display block and margin 0 auto, because margin 0 auto will align this button to center. Okay, so let's give this, yeah, refresh. Yeah, so this looks perfectly fine. So like in this tutorial we created all the like part needed to like perform this operation, and So thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. I'll catch you in the next tutorial. So like you can go over this video like because it was needed to necessary to set up this bootstrap form. So in the next tutorial we will like see how we can form other operations. Thank you everyone. So in the previous tutorial I showed you like first I'll start my Rails server. So I type Rails server. This would start the Rails server on my machine. So we had created this front-end layout using our in our Rails app. So like one few mistakes like few things I would like to make clear that is inside your index.html.arb this for input type is equal to text. Actually this should be input type is equal to submit, because this is a button and you need a submit button. So when you make this change you can see this button, so this now this becomes a button, uh, and inside your header.html.arb this snap bar you can do this to do app. Okay, and let's do this, and here you can see that now this becomes a to do app. uh, we don't need these things, so we can like cut them, like they might create some confusion like with the code. So we don't need this drop down, so this is fine. And we also don't need this is fine. And let's refresh this, so we have a home or link. So let's see this. So we can change this link to slash contact, and this becomes contact. Okay, and in the same way we can copy this, we can replicate this, and this can be changed to about, and this is about. Yeah, and this can be changed to slash, that is the root. So slash contact slash about. Let's refresh them. Here we can see, so let's click on about, move to about page, contact is contact, and home is this. So this is perfectly fine. Now let's check how we can make a post request using this form. So what we can do, we can move to like these files have been sorted. So let's move to index.html, and let's make a, we already made a method post. Please make sure that in below the post, like below the form tag you add this token underscore tag, because if you don't add this token underscore tag you won't be able to make a post request, because this will give an authentication error. And to make a post request you need a authentication token, so that for every request you have a token, and then you won't be able to make this. Okay, so for this method post we move to action add. So let's move to action add, sorry, url add. So post slash add we move to a method in a root controller, we move to the action add, and let's see this. And then we simply add what we do. Okay, this is not quite for now. We simply do render json response params. So let's create this, let's create to do, and let's copy this and paste this as well. So let's make a request, and here you can see authenticity token is this. So that was the token underscore tag I was speaking about, so which was here. So this is the token underscore tag, and the title is to do, description is description, controller is root, and action is add. So this means our form is working perfectly fine. So let's try to get the data out of this form and post this. Okay, so let's, what we can do, we can create @post is equal to post.new. Okay, and we can do @post.title is equal to params of title, and @post.description is equal to params dot params or description. Okay, so we need to like follow this convention. This should be strictly followed. The title is string and description is text. Okay, and make sure you don't have any some spelling errors, then there should be like something then render json @post. So let's do this first. Let's do this now. Let's refresh this page and make a request again. So it says id is null, title is to do, description is description, works perfectly fine, and we return the instance. And we see that we don't save this in our database, so let's do at the rate post dot save, and we render JSON. What we can do, we can simply return this kind of response. Let's copy this. This would really help us. So we can say message says saved successfully, saved and success. We can say successfully. So this is like perfectly fine. Let's make another request and do this. And here you can see this sign can't be reached. Like we have some issue. Let me check this. Hey everyone, welcome back. So like I now by mistake I must have closed the server. That was it throwing an error. So let's create a task new now, and let's make a description. Let's make a description new now. So let's click on add, and here you can see we have a status 200, which means okay, and which means this request is okay and message is saved successfully. Okay, to view this, what we can do post dot all in our database, and here you can see that we have a task new now and description new now created here. So we could also do this post dot find by id 5, since I've seen this id is 5, and here you can see we have already saved this to our database. So this is good and works perfectly fine. What if we want to instead of doing this, we could render our index page instead. Okay, so let's make a hit again. Task new now 2, description new now 2, and let's create add. And here we can see that it must have been saved in the database. Let's check in the database. So let's check in the database post dot find by id 6, because the new id created would be 6, and it says we can see that it has been created in the database. So it works perfectly fine. But would instead of doing this, we could do something like this. Address post is equal to post dot all. Let's create our logic, and let's create a logic. Yeah, so we have rendered all posts in the index page, so this would automatically be rendered. Okay, in the index page. And what we can do, we can now access this inside a page. So let's give a hr tag, and let's give a post dot each do post, and let's close this. Okay, and let's close this, and we could do something like this: percent equal to post dot title, and we could close this here, something like this. So similarly we I'm trying to achieve this. So this is like what I meant. So end tag I forgot to put, like I'll put down. Yeah, so this should work now. Like this is post dot each, you do post, and like yeah, it should work now. So let's refresh this, and no matches slash get route. Okay, no, we need to move to this. Okay, there's an error. Let me check. I need to check this error. Hey everyone, welcome back. So a small error like I found, like we have created, we are like, first when we add, so we render an index page. Okay, if we perform an add operation, instead by default we are rendering the index page with this route, which is the root route. We need to define post here as well. So if you render index, then you need to add post on both the sides. Like post is equal to post dot all, and even here you have to define post dot all, because in the same time you are rendering index. Okay, because when you are rendering the index, you need the post to be shown. Okay, and when we move to index.html, this is like, this syntax is correct, but there's a small error. The at the rate sign has to be put here. Now we can use a bootstrap card. So I'll show you. We can use a bootstrap card, and let's search for card. Yeah, so let's copy this and let's paste it here. We don't need the image tag. So this is fine. We need this. So let's paste it here. And another thing we need is description. Okay. So another thing we need here is description. Description. Let's refresh this and let's move to this. So here you can see we have all the to-dos. Okay, they are not aligned in the center. To align them in the center, what we can do, you can put margin 0 auto. Okay, now let's refresh this and yeah, perfectly fine. So, and one thing we are rendering is post.title. This is not needed. Yes, let's refresh this. Now when we like move to contact to upper index, this works perfectly fine. And let's add a new to do done again, and let's give this as same and let's create an ad, and now you can see this has been added. So this works perfectly fine. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. I'll catch you in the next tutorial. Thank you. So here I've started my Rails server and here I've started my Rails console. So let's make a post.connection, and then yeah, then we this fine. Then we can type post and we could see our database like schema. So here is our database schema. Here you can see. So here we can work on this schema and let's get started. So basically I'll run my application. So yeah, this is the application. Let's add it to do new. Let's give them some like task 1, and just for the simplicity let's add this. Yeah, perfect. Task 2. So with the simplicity I'm going to repeat this process like for a few tasks. Task 3. Yeah. So here you can see that it is we have created 3 tasks, works perfectly fine. But when we click on this, none of them is gets deleted. So we will implement the delete functionality. The first thing you need to do, you need to move to this file, uh, index.html.erb, and you need to convert this button to delete. Okay. So first, let's create a route for delete. So let's move to this file. We will move to routes.erb, and let's create this delete. Let's create delete, and for that we need an ID. So this is not a get method, this is a delete method. Okay, we go to root hash delete. I hope this is fine. So let's move to root hash delete. So this is where we perform the delete operation. Now let's move to our root controller and create a method delete, and simply let's end this and render JSON params. Okay, this is fine. We have made this. Let's move to index.html.erb and let's change this button to btn danger, and we have changed this to btn dangers. Why? Because it will give a red color, and give it a style also. So we'll move the style is equal to display, or simply give margin 0 auto. It will move to center. Okay. uh yeah, so we can refresh this. So it gives an error. So let me check extracted source around. Let me check what this error is throwing. Let me check, please. Welcome back. The error is like we need to check. I need to put a colon sign here. So this was fine. Let's refresh this and no match for get add. Okay, okay. This is something. Yeah. So here we have moved to the delete button. So now let's click on this, and this is not working. Okay, so there seems some issue with this. So this is not working. Let we have created a delete route, and let's move to our index.html.erb. Yeah, because it won't work because there is no href. So when we say href is equal to slash delete, and we need to define we need to put the put the ID. Basically, we need the ID. So we will define post dot ID. Then we will close this, and now this is fine. So basically, what we do, we call for a delete method, and with the ID we pass it here. Another thing we need to do, we need to pass data method is equal to delete, because by default anchor tag has a get nature, so get nature won't work here because yeah, I can opt for this. I'll show you how. First I'll refresh. Now here you can see, now I'll call this, so it says get delete 9 is not possible. Yes, it won't be possible because we had defined in a routes.rb this was a delete method. So let's move back to index.html.erb and make this data method is equal to, this could be either get either post either get post or delete, so we make it delete. Let's move this. So let's move to our app, refresh it. So let's call delete, and here you can see we have a JSON response, so it works perfectly fine. What we need to do, we need to move to root controller now, and we will do at the post is equal to post dot find params of id. Okay, so because we need to match with the id here, and we will simply say at the rate post dot destroy, and this would delete the post, and everything else remains same. Instead of JSON response, we render at the rate post is equal to post dot out and render index, because then we this is a single post, this is all the posts. So let's refresh this. Let's check if this is working or not. Yeah, so refresh the app. Let's create delete. Okay, still it returns like JSON response. Okay, let me check what's the issue. Yeah, so now I have saved the file. I must have forgot to save this. Now click on delete. Yeah, now it works. Everything works fine. Because I forgot to save the file, so these changes weren't saved. So it was like till JSON. So now after saving them, saving the file now reflects the changes. So let's quickly check whether how to do this. Now to do one, let's create a description to do one. Now to do two, let's create to do two. Now delete both of them. Delete it. So perfectly fine. So this is how we get the delete functionality. So let's create another functionality. Uh, let's create some to do one, and let's create this to do one, to do two. Let's create task three. Let's create some to dos now, because we might need to implement a new functionality and we might need them. So let's do this. So task four. So let's dummy to do. Let's create this as well. Okay, so we have 5 to-dos here, and we can delete one. Okay, just for, so we deleted this, so perfectly fine. So let's create a search functionality. For search functionality to be created, we need to write a query, SQL query. So let's write post dot where post dot title like, and this is a SQL operator like. So question mark will, the question mark is like to take the value. So what value we want here? We want a value which is inside this. Okay, so first what I'll do, I'll type here. So it says select post dot star from post where post dot like null, because I didn't pass anything in this array. So that's absolutely fine. Let's do post dot all, so we get all of them. So now let's do something. Let's take a variable query and make it our dummy. Okay, and now let's write this query where we are defining now where we need to define a percent operator, and this is like a query. This will take the value, and this is now we again put a person operator and type this. So So here it says select post dot from post where post dot title like dummy. So this return this to do. Perfectly fine. So this is the query value we had put in. So it's perfectly working fine. So we can copy this query. I had wrote the same query here as well. So let's move here and type define search. Let's create this end. So and we need to define them as @post, and yes, this is fine, and we need to define the render index. Now the only one thing is left. We need to get the query. Okay, and the query would be our params of query. Okay, so from where we will get this query? So let's implement this in our header. So let's move to our header, and here we have this input type is equal to search. This is a search form which refers to this at the top right. So what we can do, we can define name is equal to query, because are going to take an method is equal to get. So by default it is get. So let's refresh, and okay, this is some we can ignore this. So let's type hello. Let's type dummy, and let's click on search. So we forgot to like make a request get slash search, and which says to is equal to root hash search. So this is what's error, and now we need to put this inside an action. Okay, so we would move to our header.html.erb, and we need to put this inside an action. So basically this method should be get. I put this in at wrong place, so this is get, and action is equal to search. So I hope it should work now. So let's type dummy and let's hit the button. So yeah, so undefined local or with variable method query. Okay, so it's like a small error I figured out, and we need to define the root controller, and this should be @query. Let's refresh this, and here you can see the dummy has been searched successfully. Let's type to do and let's search it. Get many to do's, dummy to do and to do, because both of them have a to do keyword. So this is how we operate the search operation. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you. So today we are continuing with our Rails app. So I'll show you a quick overview what we have achieved till now. So this is the home page. This is contact page. This is the about page, and this is the home page. We have all the to-dos here. So this is our Rails server running, and this is the Rails console running. We can type post.connection. So like this is we have achieved the connection. Now we'll type post, and this is all the posts, and we'll type post.all, and simply we get all the posts here. So this is working. So let's create a new to do. Let's create task 3, and let's paste this. Okay, this is already created. Let's create it with task 5, and let's add this, and has been added. Now we can delete this task as well, and this is all the tasks we have. We can also search one using here. Let's type task, and we will get all the one. So this is task 3 and task 4. So we have achieved lot of functionalities. So one functionality is left, that is the update functionality. So update functionality is like so it is, so let's start building the update functionality. So for that, what we need to do, we need to move to the HTML file index.html.rb, and here we have a button for like this is the add button. So and this is the add button, and in the same way we have a delete button. So let's move here, and let's create a button. So let's move copy this, and let's this and data method. We don't need a data method here, so let's remove this. href tag we can ignore for right now. So now we are creating an update button. So let's give this update, and let's give this a class button warning. So this will give the like yellow button. So yeah, so now it's perfectly fine. So we have the update button. So now we click on this, it doesn't go anywhere. So we need to create a route for this. So let's do this. uh, the same way we have for delete, let's create this for update. Okay, so let's click here, update. Okay, now let's, this is fine. Now we have to create a route for this on our routes.rb. So let's create this. So let's create here, let's create a get method. So let's create this after the search. So let's create, copy this. Yes, so we need to create get request, then update, and root hash update. Okay, yeah, so this is fine. So what we can do, then we need to move to the root controller. So in here we will create define update, and let's end this method. So we will do post.find params.id, and we'll define title is equal to @post.title, and @description is equal to @post.description. Okay, then what we can do, we can render a template update. Let's render a template update. Now let's create a template update. So in this we will create a new file, update.html.erb, and simply let's print this. Person tag is equal to, we will close this tag, and @title, and let's print this also, add description. So I hope it should work fine. Now let's refresh this. So update, we move to this page, and so we have, let me check. So let me cross this. So yeah, we have something here. So uh, we have something here. So we can see the text. Let's inspect element, and we, here you can see that we have the data, that is task 4, task 4. So this is perfectly fine. Now what we want to do this, that we have the data which has been coming, the data is moving, we have a move to update route. Then it fetches that post with that given id, then it extracts some data, and then it's update, then it's render this template. So what we need to do, we need to update this. So what we can do, we can create index.html, and we can copy this form. Okay, so we can like copy this template till here, because we want to recreate that thing. So let's copy this, and let's remove this. Yeah, so yeah, so let's remove this, and here, like what we can do, we can put value, that is percent equal to percent. So yeah, the value is equal to @title, and in the same way we can achieve this thing. We can achieve this thing by putting this between the text area. So this is @description. So let's make a request again, and here we see automatically we get all the things, the title and task. So let's go to home button, let's click on this update. So we get everything, the dummy to do and dummy to do as a description. One small thing we can make sure here, that this should be update now. Now this is not add. Okay, so let's, so this is update. So we need to create something. One thing I would show you. So you need to create, you need to maintain the id. So for that, what you can do, you can do input type is equal to hidden. Okay, and here you can see value uh, is equal to, value should be this. So value can be your id. So value can be your id. So this is fine. So input type is equal to value is equal to id. So you need to actually maintain the id of the post as well. So let's go here and we'll define at the rate id. It is equal to params of id. So simply we can do this, and then let's again make a request. We have home page. Let's click on update and let's inspect element and see, uh, because this is, yeah, here you can see input type is equal to hidden, and we have a value 15 because the task corresponding to this. Let's move to our Rails console and check post.find. Let's find the post with the id 15. Yeah, this is the same post. So here you can see that we have that post with that id. So we did this because we wanted to update, maintain the value. So let's create a method again. Def define update form, and let's end this. Okay, now let's make this post slash update form. Okay, then let's move to this to hash root hash update form. Okay, so this is fine. Let's move to controller. So this is update form, and then we can simply render JSON or params just for the simplicity of this. So and now when we make update HTML, so this same space, everything remains same, and this changes to update form. So let's refresh this. uh, so let's move to the app. So we have a home. Let's click on update. Let's click on 2 to 3, and let's make it 2 to 20. Let's make it 20 20 20, and let's click on update. So here you can see now the title is this and 2 to 20 is this. So now everything looks perfectly fine. Now a simple change is needed in the controller. So I mean you're getting my point, that I can, okay, I can move this method below. Okay, this will work fine. So basically what we are doing, first we are fetching the post which we have to update, then we render the data into a form, then we again submit that form. So again what you can do, because now you have all the params, the title, description, and uh like you have the id. Okay, 2 to 20, 2 to, so we need to fetch the id. The id is missing here, so let me check how id is missing. Hey everyone, so I got it was a small error. The name tag has to be mentioned here. The name is equal to id. So it's now perfectly fine. When you submit this, you get the id here. So now the simply what you need to do now, it seems like so what you need to do, you need to find the post, and then at the post dot title is equal to uh, params of title, and at the rate post dot description is equal to params of description, and we need to then save that post dot save, and then we can simply our usual thing, we render the index page, we find all the posts, and we can simply do post dot all. Okay, so now it should work perfectly fine. Then we have this, we have the id, title, description, then we save this, then we render everything. So let's move to the app. Let's start everything from scratch. Let's create an now let's create update. You change this to task 40 and change this to task 40. Let's update this, and here we go, it's updated perfectly fine. So thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. You can also delete things. Yeah, works perfectly fine. Now let's update this. and yeah, so everything is working fine. 30. So this is how we did. I'll give you a quick overview. First, we created the update method to check which post we have to update. We rendered the same data on update form. Then we got the values back and then we updated them. So thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. I hope you liked it. Thank you everyone. Today we are going to build a Rails authentication app. So let's build this. So I have run this command Rails new Rails auth app. So this would create a Rails auth app in your local machine. So the next command you need to type is you need to define cd. You need to move inside this Rails new app, new auth app, and uh, like so. This is like this is the command Rails auth app. So you need to define cd Rails auth app, and you can move. You have moved in this directory, and you need to define code dot dot. So this would open the VS Code on your local machine. So this is fine. Uh, then you can click here and you click in Rails terminal, and then you can type Rails server, and this would like most probably uh this would open the like this would be on your local host. So then you can copy this link, and you can copy this link and then you can open Chrome browser, and then you can open the Chrome browser and paste this URL. So this is how we have like so so now the app is running on your browser, so this is fine. So we need to define few things before we start our application. So you can close the server, and you can close the server and it would ask you to terminate the job. Yes. So we need to define Rails G controller. So we need to define first we need to define very first thing what you need to do, you need to move to your gem file, and this is your gem file, and you need to uncomment this thing. So you need to uncomment this and then you need to type bundle. So we need bcrypt to store the password in a digested form because we are building an authentication app and we cannot directly store the uh, like user password in a raw form. So we need to like basically uh, store it in a digested form. Okay. So then we need to define create a controller Rails G controller, and we need to define sessions. Okay. So basically this is we need to define Rails G controller session. So this would create a session controller, and in the same way uh, we need to define we need to define uh, a user controller and a user model. Okay. So let's move this session controller.rb. So this is class session controller and application controller, and this is end. So this is like sessions controller, and in the same way we need to define Rails G controller users, and this would create the users controller. So this is fine, and we need to also define Rails G model user, and which has an email unique and a password in a digested form. Okay. Okay, so this would create a user model in your machine, and this is fine. And then you need to type Rails db migrate. So then we have migrated the database. So this looks perfectly fine, and so this is fine. So we would also have the users controller. This is here it is, and we would also have the user model. Okay, so so we need to define few things here. Validates email. So we need to validate the email with few things, that is presence is equal to true, and uniqueness is equal to true. So this is how we do this. We need to define validates email presence is equal to true and uniqueness is equal to true. And let's open the console Rails console, and let's run few commands like if we are sure that our model is being created or not. So we need to define user dot connection So now it's fine. So now let's define user, and we have got a user ID is integer, email is string, and a password digest is equal to string. So basically this means we are storing the password in a string format but in an encrypted way. That is a digested form. Okay, so let's move to new file routes.rb, and let's create few resources here. So we are defining resources because we are telling them that we are using those controllers in those routes, because we need to define a map particular URL to a route. So for that, what we need to do, we need to define resources, and we need to define users and resources, and we need to define sessions. Okay, so this is how we do it. And let's define get get method with sign up, which says to users hash new, and let's define this as sign up. So and for this we need to define get login. Okay, this is not needed right now, so we can ignore this. And let's this is not needed, we can ignore this. And let's move to this, and we need to define a def new, and let's end this method. Okay, and we should also when we create more, I'll tell you, the most probably we are going to create def create and this, and def destroy and end. And when we move to this views users, and we create a file. Okay, something went wrong. Yeah, new file, and we need to define new.html.erb, and let's define a page sign up. So I hope this is fine. And yeah, so sign up is the page. So let's see the flow first. So we have a routes.rb, we say get sign up users hash new and as sign up, and in here we define a sign up method new, and this has a like default statement of this render new. Okay, so if you want to like have a good overview, so this is the default statement, it must be rendering, so can skip this. As a practice we can skip this, and it will definitely render the new.html.erb. Okay, so let's run this, and I hope the server is not running, so let's exit this Rails server, and let's define sign up. So we have like, so it says rendered user.new.html.erb with layouts, and let's see, yeah, the sign up is there. So this is the basic layout. So in the same way, a very quick, we can do this, we can also create few things here also. Def new, we can also create def new end, def create, and we can end this method, and def destroy. So so this is the basic architecture. So we are maintaining user model, user controller, and a session controller for our application. So basically these things are needed, so this would help us out to like maintain the application. So then in the same way we can create few more routes as well. So one is like sign up, and another is sign in, and one is also like login logout, so we can maintain those routes and help us. So next what we are going to do, we are going to create a form here. So basically those form is also like, basically it is going to have like few things, a registration form basically. So we are going to register the user here, so it will have a method, basically a method which is going to be post. Okay, so this is going to be post method, and we'll define the action here. Action is away, like it is being empty here, so action is there, and we need to define some inputs for that. Okay, so I'll catch you in the next tutorial. Thank you for everyone for watching this. Thank you, bye. So basically to start the application, you need to type Rails server, and this will type the application on your machine. So like previous part, we had created a form using a basic form layout using the sign up method. So let's create the input type for this. So for this, we can type input type is equal to email. So this is the email, and the name is equal to we can give a name, any username. This is like, let's give this a name, email, or like let's give this a username. Okay, and let's give a name username, and required, and this is required. So let's give this, and so I hope this is fine. And we can define a id is equal to username. Basically id is needed for the label. So for this corresponding, let's create a label method. So let's create a label for username, and let's create this label. Let's close this, and let's type username here. So this is how it is done. And to avoid any like CSFR token, since we are making a process, so we need to define percent equal to token underscore tag, and this is this. Okay, so this is how we do it. Input type is equal to email, name is equal to username, id is equal to unrequired, uh, and this is like label for, this is user password. So we are creating a user password here, and for this we are defining input type is equal to password, and we need to define name is equal to user password, and id is equal to user password. Okay, and this is also required, so we keep this as required. Okay, and since we need to define input type is equal to submit value is equal to register, let's give a value of register. This is fine, and we can close this tab. So by default, when we refresh this page, so we need to find something like username, and we need to define a password here. Okay, yeah, password is required, so let's keep this, and let's put there as a password. Okay, and this is fine. Okay, so let's, yeah, so let's, yeah, we have an option to sign up, that is username and password, and we have a register button. Okay, so this is fine. So let's give this as a sign up page. Okay, so this is fine now. So we have a user password, and like, so let's create, when we submit this form, so we need a method where we need to submit this form. So let's create this method, uh, sorry, a route for this. So that is post register, and when we hit this register, so basically we tell them, okay, we define users hash create, and we need to define this as register. Okay, so this is fine. We need to define as register, post register, we need to find users hash create as registers. So when we make a post request, so we need to hit this method. Okay, so I have maintained this method, so I'll show you a trick how to view this routes everywhere. So move to this local route. Okay, this is your base route, app is working, this is sign up, app is working. Okay, type an invalid route, something like any invalid route. Maybe I type invalid invalid xyz, something, anything invalid. Now you get this, and now you can type register, you can like roam, you can search from here as well, and I'll use this. So it says register underscore path, which hits on users as create. So I can use this, copy this, I'll copy this register underscore path, And let's move to this page, and I can type percent equal to this. So this works perfectly fine. So this would this would help you from defining, like, this works as a constant. So it action moves to this route at a particular. These are good to put. Okay. So when you put this register underscore path, it will hit this method because I've told them to move to hit this method, and then you can simply render JSON. Just for this simplicity, I'm telling it to render JSON params. Okay, so let's now hit the sign up. Let's type a user@mail.com, and let's give a dummy password, something like very dummy password you can give. So 1234566. I'll type again 1234566. So let's hit this. So when we hit, so the like it never. So we have authenticity token is to this, username is equal to this, and user password is this, and controller is this, action is great. This is fine. So what we need to define? We need to define email is equal to params of what params you are getting here. So we are getting a params of username. Let's copy this to avoid any, and password is equal to params of this user password. Okay, and this is fine. So we have already, like, I have shown you, like, in the previous tutorial. So I'll just give you a quick overview. Yeah, so we had created a user, right? So okay, this is not needed. I'll show you again. We can type exit and we'll type Rails console. Okay, so Rails console will be open, and when I'll type user.connection, and then I'll type user. So this is how we have email and password underscore digest. Okay, so this is how we create a user. So we can define user. We can define simply user dot create. We need to define user dot create, where email is equal to email, and password underscore digest is equal to password. I hope this is fine. And then you can simply say response is equal to this, and let's define a success is equal to true, and render JSON response. Okay, so let's hit this request again. Okay, I need to make sure the server is running. Server is not running, so let's start the server. So let's hit the request again, and this time the user should be created. Okay, so basically I'll show you again once again. So password is this, user is email.com. Let's again making the request again. Let's make a request again. Okay, I'll zoom this, and now I'll make it. So this is the username and user password. Let's make the request again, and I should get a success is equal to true. Okay, good. If the success is true, then let me check. Let me check. Uh, so I'll do Rails console. Okay, so I'll do Rails console, and this would me do user dot first. Okay, so now you see the password is being stored in a digested form. Okay, so thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you everyone. So we left out where if we have created a user, so instead of sending a JSON response, so what we will do, we'll create a message here which says @message, uh, your account is created successfully. Account is your you can simply give it your account is created. Okay, so successfully. So this would be a message to the user, and in new.html.rb you can render this message like this. So So let's again sign up. So let's create on this, and let's do sign up, and let's create a new user, two, and we give a simple password. Okay, let's create this and say your account is created successfully. If your account is created successfully, you should give them a sign up option, right? So you should give them a sign up option. So let's move to routes.rb. So we will do get sign in, and we would do session hash new, because now we are instead talking about creating a session sign in, and we would do this as sign in. Okay, I hope this is fine. And in here, like, if this is a like, yeah, so what you need to do, you need to define a variable. So what you need to do, you need to move here, and here your account is created successfully, and okay, either you can do this, success is equal to true, success is equal to, and what you can do, you can remove this message not needed, and what you can do, if at the rate success, you can end this and end this tag as well. If at the rate success, you can say your account is created, and you can end this tag, and here you can see href. You can give anchor tag. So this anchor tag, you would move them to the login. I say click here to login. I hope this is fine. And now I told you a trick that you can check the routes by randomly typing something here, and then you can you can check the path, and this is the path, sign in path. So you should copy this path, and you should be able to paste this here. So this gives a value sign in underscore path, and let's close this. Okay, so now I hope this is fine. So let's again do a sign up, and you do new user 3, and my you should give a simple password 12345 6, and here you can say your account is created, click here to login. So when you click on this, it might return an error. So because this is a like error because you have not defined it, and you can move to routes.rb, and this is build sessions. So when you move to this, and then it says is missing a template. So we will create a template for that. Okay, so we will create a template for that. So for that, what we're going to do, so we need to move it here in a session. We need to move in the views folder, app views sessions, and let's create a new file, new.html.erb. Okay, so let's create a heading. So let's create a heading h1 tag. Let's create this, and we need to define h1 sign in. Okay, and in the same way, we need to define a form. Okay, and let's define this form. Okay, so input type is equal to, okay, so this form is like for the sign up page, input type is equal to email. Okay, and label is equal to, you can keep this as anything, because since you have created the user, so let's keep this very quick. Do this very quickly. Label is equal to sorry, name is equal to email. and id is equal to email. Okay, and let's close this. Label for email. So let's create the email. Basically this is our username also, so you can comment this and put here, and then input type is equal to password, and we can copy this. Name is equal to password, id is equal to password, and we can do label for password, and we can close this. So this is your password. Now you can do input type is equal to submit, value is equal to login. Okay, so value is equal to login. So what you need to do, let's refresh this page, and here you get a sign in, right? So that's great, we get a sign in page. Now what we need to do, we need to define a method is equal to post action. Now let's keep this action as empty, and now we need to define a post method for, like, for sign up we define a register, for sign in we define a login. Okay, post login, and let's now we define a sessions hash create. Now we define this as login. Okay, so most probably we are going to move in sessions controller, and we need to define render json params. Just for the simplicity it is done, and we have, like, the apps we have the views, we have the new.html, and for here we define percent is equal to login underscore path, and here we also define percent equal to token underscore tag. So this is how we define the token and the, like, HTML. So it is done. Yeah, so let's just define a user at the rate mail.com. Let's put the password 123456. So yeah, it's working perfectly fine. Great. So we are able to create the sign in page as well. Now we have to check for the user authentication. So next thing what we are going to do, so first we will take the user, and I'll show you what we are going to do. So what we are going to do, so what we are going to do, we are going to take the email. Okay, and we say params of email. So simply see, we take the email, and password is equal to params of password. So this is like we take, and now I'll tell you, you might also think for the next tutorial what we need to do new. You will do something like user.find with this email if it exists. If it exists, then match for password, right? Match for password, else throw error. So this we are going to do something. If it exists, then match for password, else throw error, and if it matches, if it matches, then create a session. Okay, if it matches, then create a session. So that is what we are going to achieve in the next tutorial. Thank you everyone for watching this. So let's start our application, and let's see where we have ended in the last tutorial. So let's create this Rails server, and let's create this and let's start our server. So we were able to create the login page. Okay, so one thing, so a server is already running. Okay, let me check if this, yeah, it's running, so perfectly fine. Let's, yeah, so the server is running, the app is running. So we have created a login page. Okay, and but we need to check if this login page already exists or not. So for that, what we are going to do, we are going to do Rails console, and we need to check, like we can do, since the email is unique, so we will type user is equal to user dot find underscore by email is equal to email. Okay, so and we say if user, so if there is a user, let's do a end statement. If user, and this would, if user is like, this would mean that if user does exist. Okay, so then we need to match password. Okay, if user dot exist, we need to match password. So if user, and or we can do this way also, user. So first I'll show you what you need to do. This is your user dot first, and we need to do if user dot password underscore digest is equal to password. So then we can render a JSON. Just for simplicity, I'm rendering a JSON which says response, and let response is equal to logged in is equal to true. So this is just I'm making, and let's remove this. And else, uh, if else, else would be something this which says response logged in is equal to false, and we could do the statement here only because we we want this JSON response to be sent after the if else statement. So first we will try with user@mail.com. Okay, and this is how we do it. Because I don't remember the passwords which I created, so many passwords. So let's create a user first. So let's we create a dummy @mail.com, and we would say 1 2 3 4 5 6, and let's register. So it says your account is created, and I click here to login and say dummy@mail.com. User is created, so now it should return a logged in is equal to true. So it says logged in is equal to true. Let's put the wrong password. 1 2 3 4 5. Correct. Logged in is false. Let's put an incorrect email and see whether this works or not. So we are going in right direction. 1 2 3 4 5 6. The password is right, but the email is wrong. So it says logged in is false. So yeah, our logic is right. So it says it says instead of response, now we are going to basically we are going to render a message. So basically it says at the rate success at the rate logged in is equal to false, and this is false, and we simply render new because we were coming from the new page of the views. I'll show you how. We move to app, views, sessions, and this was our login page. Okay, and here we say, and then we say at the rate if at the rate logged in equal to false. Okay, so we say at the rate end, so we redirect the user to the same page. Okay, and we say if at the rate login is equal to false, then we say either email or password doesn't match. I hope this is right. So let's create this and this. Yeah, perfectly fine. So let's move to our session controller. So we say at the login is equal to render new, else. Okay, okay, this is like this is at the login is equal to true. Okay, I put this into a long logic block. This is fine, and render login is equal to false, and and let's do this as true. Okay, so now let's dummy at mail.com 12345 and it's a login. How called and also not neither reader does not terminate. So there's an error in this line. I'll see. So it says render JSON response, else render new, or render JSON response. So it's fine. So email or password doesn't match. So either email or password doesn't match. So we tell them to log in. And if we put the correct email ID and password, so let's see. It says login is equal to true. So if this is true, so let's maintain a session for it because this is true. So let's maintain to session for it. Okay. One thing I wanted to make this, we did not add the error handling for users also. Uh, if what I wanted to do, like, see, if this email is already taken, then what happens? So we did not create this functionality on the user side. Okay. So what we will do, if user is equal to user dot find underscore by email is equal to email. If user is there, then let's end this. Else, let's do the same thing what we did for the login part. Else, if user is already there, then let's create this with a success. Okay, and this is fine. Else, if the user does, I mean this is also create part. Okay, so don't confuse yourself. So we are the login part is like done. We have like the login password and we are maintaining, and the password is wrong, we are maintaining. But if the user, if this email is already taken by registering, then you need to take at the rate success is equal to false. Okay, okay, let's name this as a register because this makes more sense and this also make more sense. Okay, and we are going to render. So basically we are doing the same thing, so let's avoid this and we are should render new. This is fine. And let's move to new.html.rb. So if register this, okay, if register is equal to true, then this, and else we move to else. Okay, one thing I'll show you. Okay, let's do this. One else is this block, and we say email already taken. Okay, so this is fine. So let's move to this. Our app sign up. Yeah. Now you see. I'll show you one thing. Let's do user.all and see. Okay, if this is enabled. Okay, so this is not enabled. So we have see we are taking user at the rate mail.com. See this, or maybe we have dummy at the rate mail.com which is already taken. Okay, fine. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Let's check with this. So yeah, it says email already taken. So what happens when we move to this page without checking it and it says email already taken? This is wrong because we need to avoid this, and for that what we'll do, and at the rate register, uh, if at the register is equal to true, and for this block we will uh, else. Okay, else if else if at the rate register is not equal to nil, because if it's nil we don't show this message. Okay, so now it's perfectly fine because by default it has a nil value. So if it's true, your account is created. If it's not equal to say nil, so email already taken. If it's nil, then don't show anything. Or okay, so this is fine. Now let's move this and check this with sign up. Yeah, email already taken. Let's create a new ID, user 22 and 123456. So created. Your account is created. Click here to login. Okay, perfectly fine. So we are moving in right direction. So this was the case when we had to add error handling on the page for both sign up and sign in. So thank you everyone for watching. Bye. So what I have done now, I have created a landing.html.erb. So this is the landing page of our application. So this is the landing page and it says landing page to check login or logout. So simply it is the landing page to check login or logout. And let's this is the issue landing page to check login or logout. So let's exit this race console and let's clear this. So now we need to define in routes.rb. We need to define get logout, because now this is the last feature we are building, get logout, and then we will test our application. So define sessions hash destroy as logout. So this is session.destroy as logout. So now let's move to session controller. Okay, what happens when we make a session? So what happens, I'll show you. Okay, so one thing one thing I'll show you one thing. See, so what will happens when the user authentication is successful? So if the user's authentication is successful, so we do session of user ID equal to user.id. Okay, this is what happens when we see the we see that the user has successfully logged in, so we create a user ID and assign that user.id. What destroy, what we do the opposite of this. So okay, we do the opposite of this, that instead of assigning it id, we assign it as a nil value. Okay, so this is what we do, and this is happens. Okay, uh yeah, then uh, uh we like this is we do, and then we create a helper method and application controller dot, this is the application controller. So we create a helper method in this, and how do we define this? We define a helper method, helper underscore method, which is current underscore user. So basically in most of the Rails application we access the current user using this. And if I define current underscore user, and we define end. So if session of user ID, if that is not nil, okay, if that is not nil, then we define current underscore user is equal to current underscore user or user dot find session or user ID, else current underscore user is equal to nil, right? So this is how we do it. So if that exists, if session ID exists, then we find the current user, then then we do put that current user to nil. Okay, so if in this page we say if current underscore user, if current underscore user, then we say, and we say hello, hello, your current underscore user dot email. If it exists, then we say this. Okay. Else we need to show user that they are like, okay, let's first check this. We are in session controller, then we assign session is equal to user dot id, and then we say render layouts slash landing. Okay. Okay, one thing we all like missed in this is like that is layouts on the landing. So one thing I would like to tell you, we can also render different layouts from here by defining the prefix. So if we don't define the prefix, then it assumes and we are defining the sessions, then it assumes we are in sessions and users we are in users. So if we can define the prefix for this. So let's run the application, sign in. Okay, it says unexpected error. Okay, yeah, because this is Ruby, so yes. Else, and when we end this block like this, fine. So let's make login. Let's log in this and let's create. So it's a landing page to check login or logout. Hello dummy@mail.com. We are perfectly fine. So now we on this page we need to create an option to log out if it is signed in. Okay, ahref, and we say logout, and for that I told you, for if you want to check the confirm the path, so what you can do, you can simply type this logout and it says logout underscore path. Perfectly fine. So this is logout underscore path, and here we go, and it's a. So let's again move to this page. Okay, let's do move to sign in. Okay, let's create a different route for this. Okay, let's create to this get slash landing, and let's do to users hash landing. We will create this, and so let's create this as landing. Okay, so let's move to user controller. Let's create this because we don't need to sign this every time to get into this method. Define landing, and then it simply render layouts layout slash landing. Okay, so yeah, and yeah, uh, so yeah, that is an error because we need to define this in codes. Yeah, so like that is an error. Now let's check for the landing route. Yeah, this is slash landing. So let's move to this route. So yeah, it still stays when we move to the landing page to check login or hello at the demo. Let's move to logout. So when we move to hit the logout button, so we need to destroy the session, and we already do that. Nothing, and then we say render this thing, uh, or instead of doing render again, we can simply use redirect to, because we have already created the route for that. Yeah, so perfectly fine. We can do redirect underscore to logout underscore. I hope this is fine. Yeah, fine. So let's refresh this. When you click on logout, and here it hits the button and there is a logout. So some seems an error with this. Okay, 302 found. Okay, seems some error with this. So let me check the route for this. Okay, I did a mistake. I had to render to landing path. Sorry, this was a mistake. Yeah. So we say redirect to landing underscore path and redirect to landing underscore path. Yeah, fine. So let's move to landing page. Okay, it's refused to connect it. Something seems wrong with the server. Yeah, now it's fine. So landing page to check login or logout. Yeah, it is not logged in because at last you had created short the session. So let's create a user from let's do a sign in w@gmail.com and let's sign in with the user. It says hello at the developer. Let's do a logout and we are logged out. So perfectly fine. When we are logged out, we don't see anything. Okay. So for that we can create a message. If this is the current user, then we do this. Else else we can show else we can show the one we had on the create page of the users. This one href click here to login. So this was a better approach to check. And yeah, it says landing we click here to login. When we do login, let's login and this 1 2 3 4 5 6 login and it's a hello data and we say logout. We go. So boom, we are out of the session. So this is how it worked. So thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. Let's do a recap what we did. So we had a sign up page where we had signed up. Let's create a new user. New user at the mail.com. Let's create a password 1 2 3 4 5 6 again. I keep the password same. So okay, this email is already taken. Yeah, okay. Let's take user 100. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Your account is created, so it's perfectly fine. Uh, Click here to login. Let's create a user 100. Let's log in with this. So landing page to check login or logout. Yeah, hello user at 100mail.com. Let's click on logout and we are out of this session. Click here to login. Let's login back. So everything works perfectly fine. So thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. So if you have uh, we can extend this to application to some objectives. So I'll try to object this authentication so that you have a better overview. Thank you everyone. Bye. Take care.